This is
good.
Expanded Understanding. If you are new to the channel or you're watching this in a replay, please like, subscribe, and share. And check out the links below the video in the description for all kinds of various stuff that we do with our community. This is a community that truly is focused around unity and cohesion and the support
Mm,
of the others involved inside of the community. We do an awful lot of things to really just try and make life a better place for all of ourselves and work together and support each other. And we ask that you come and be a part of that community as well. Really, the more the merrier in this situation, as long as you don't suck. But you probably don't if you're already watching this. So, nevertheless, I'd
you
like to
just have to have
welcome
a minimal
everybody.
minimal level of being an asshole, and you're welcome. It's fine. We can all get
Yeah.
along just fine. It's not really that hard.
Nevertheless, welcome everybody here tonight. Brittany, Charlotte, Willow,
Yeah,
Kevin,
there's so many people. It's awesome.
uh, Higher
And
Frequency, Maya, Higher Frequency is
Robert,
Robert, I think is his name.
yeah,
Sasha, Stavron. I
yeah.
have not seen you in here before. I don't know you.
Hi,
Nice to see you
Stavron.
here.
Welcome.
Good to see you around. Uh, oh, this is Xena. Is the name?
Ooh,
Xena's a pretty
Xena.
cool name.
Cool.
Well, glad to have you in here. Hopefully our channel does not get banned for a week from the music that I just played right now. I spent many, many days thinking about whether or not I could get away with playing music that clearly other people are getting away with playing. And
Mm-hmm.
I finally decided that I was never going to know until I know. So I tried playing some of it before this, and we'll see what kind of copyright strikes pop up because of it. I think it will just be
Okay.
stuff that allows me to mute the video. We'll
Meet the
see.
music.
So
Yeah.
hopefully that's the case. On the other plus side of that, though, I've gotten a bunch of cool loops over the last couple days, and I have already started like putting some stuff together. And I'll probably have, well, I don't know, probably just what I'll probably do is make like a 30-minute mix, like where I'll take all of the different basses that I've gotten and all of the different drum lines that I've gotten, all the different synths and all the samples, and I'll kind of put them into a thing, and then I'll just like fuck around with them for 30 minutes, switching shit out and whatnot. And just like, it won't be perfect. It won't be the best thing out there, but it will not be copyrighted. I can play
Yeah.
it as much as I want to. And
Sounds
so
awesome.
that's definitely, I'm definitely interested in doing that. And a lot of these, I mean, these loops are super cool. Like, man, this program is really well laid out, and they got a lot of good samples, loops, drum kits, etc. on this thing. But Jesus, it has so many bugs. Like you can't even get through downloading the amount of free samples that you have allotted to you in a day. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have the highest package. You could get even more. And
Yeah, yeah.
you can't get through all of those without the program bugging in like one of multiple different ways, and it's
Bummer.
really weird. But
Yeah.
you can't just close the program, open it back up, and then it works right. Well, sort of. When you run
Still
out of free
annoying. Yeah.
downloads for the day, it doesn't give you any kind of like error or something. It's like you're out of free downloads for the day, which you would think would be the case. It acts like it's
Yeah.
going to download the thing and then does not actually download it. And I've never actually kept track. I'm not sure I'm actually even getting the amount I'm supposed to every day. It doesn't matter, they're free. So what are you gonna do? You get as
Yeah.
much free stuff as it lets me take, and then I don't anymore. But I got a nice little collection of just drum and bass loops coming together that I've been keeping very organized, and yeah, I don't know. I'm psyched on them. I've been playing with them kind of a good amount, really. More than I was for a little while there. I've been playing a lot more with music and focusing on it a lot more. So that's cool. I'm definitely enjoying that an awful lot.
I love that we're on this whole music tip, like a group of us and all of us and people participating in chat and Kevin being on. I mean, it seems to me like I mean like what I labeled that the thread that we're in, DMB is some get out of the matrix type of shit. Like but it's music in general, but really at least it's cool that we're all cohering around DMB and other shit and then making music
I
and
thought
it's
about it,
fucking
dude.
great.
It's at a high BPM,
Hmm.
liquid drum and bass specifically
I
that,
love liquid
in my
drum bass. So
personal
far, every
opinion.
mix I've heard, I really dig
I
it.
I've spent even just recently I've like looked around at the other subgenres of drum and bass. It's not the same. Pleasing,
Mm,
perhaps, right? Lots of sounds that I think are neat, yes, but there's something different going on with it with liquid drum and bass specifically
hmm
because of like the slow rolling or slow progressing bass lines, and then the really high tempo with the really consistent top end notes like hi
Mm.
hats and cymbals and shit like this. Like something about the spacing that creates really encourages the mind to start working faster and more efficiently to try and pick
Mm.
apart the data, I think. Or at least that's
Isn't
what's been happening with me. I've been like, as I've known about drum bass for a long, long time, but I kind of ebb and flow out of genres a lot of times. But this kind of flow into drum and bass at this point in time is probably harder than I've. The only time I've flowed harder into a piece of music is when I started actually writing hip hop lyrics. I was like way
mm.
into hip hop for a little while, but
Yeah.
and that's like continued on to this point in time still. So I'm definitely really into this. I really appreciate the fact that there's other people that are into it too that I know directly. And I mean, I could even go for the people being even more into it. You know what I mean? Like so it's yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely about as into it as somebody could be into it right now. Like I was literally like woke up and like used my hypnagogic state on like thinking about sounds and how they layer and stuff like this. So,
Awesome. Yeah. What do you
uh,
think? What do you think the difference is between doing like binaural beats and liquid D&B, the way it affects your psyche, your consciousness, your mind?
there's interesting things that I'm curious about that would really like require testing to say anything serious about. But when I'm talking about that spacing between kind of the like, well, I'm wondering if instead of just with the frequency, if you could also tune your brain wavelength with tempo, basically is the idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
so these deeper drum lines inside of liquid drum and bass oftentimes carry out over 2 beats. And for anybody who doesn't understand how music works, this specific music is on what's known as a 4/4 time signature. And that means that there are 4 beats to 1 bar, and there are 4 bars per one. I don't know what that's called. Kevin might know the name of that thing.
He
Um,
is the D&B king after all, according to Willow.
Nevertheless, point is that so the higher end is hitting actually even on so to one of those bars oftentimes you'll be getting a tap 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 that's actually happening 32 times per bar, right? It's on a
Yeah.
30-second note, and so it's very fast, and that little rhythm right there usually carries in a certain way kind of almost at like double speed of whatever the tempo is. And
Mm.
then the bass lines a lot of times they're carrying out over 2 entire beats in their progression. Like they're basically like 8 bar loops, and they change 4 times in that 8 bars, which means they change every 2 bars, right?
Yeah.
So they're going much slower. They're boom, you know what I mean? So it's
Right.
carrying
Right.
out over that long time. The other thing is going much, much faster, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
double speed. This is like half speed. The tempo that you're setting the project to in terms of these two specific elements in the right setting where you were using this specific kind of bass and you're using these kinds of basically top end of the drums. Basically, the top end of the drums is operating at like twice the speed, and the bottom half is operating at like half the speed of whatever tempo that you set. So the tempo that you set is actually like a tempo that is really you're not actually really sticking to it with the
Right. Right.
top end and the low end. Everything that you put in the middle, like melodies and synths and shit like this, I mean, it is all revolving around that tempo, right? But because it's doing stuff that's not on 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're never, in a certain way, feeling from one element the consistent 170 BPM, for instance, because that would be
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So something that's going tick, 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 then this
Tick.
would
Tick.
be
Tick.
right at that. But the high end in a drum and bass song is usually going tick 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 tick, like it's going really fast and has other drum elements kind of layered in there with it. So
Yeah.
nevertheless, the point is that there's like a tempo based spacing that's being created between the top end and the low end, and I wonder what that does for brain frequency wavelengths. Does
Right.
that entrain them? Is basically the case. If it does entrain them, then with this we're basically the tempo that we're setting in the middle that is like the project file tempo around that like 170, sometimes dipping more down to like 140. This would kind of be the modulation of the difference between the low end at half speed and the top end at double speed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So is our brainwave in training to that average? Because that's the case with binaural beats. I put a frequency, so a rate of a wave moving, right? A speed. This is another
Mm-hmm.
speed, right? Like realize like frequency is just a speed measurement. So this frequency is moving at one rate in the left ear, and it's moving at a set rate in the right ear that is different from the left ear, and our brain fills in with the gap in between that. Right. So
Yeah.
can we do basically the same thing with the top end and the low end of the drums? Like precisely making sure that the drums, when the drums are having changes, right? We're making sure that that's happening at say 100 BPM, right? Like it
Mm.
would time up every transient inside of that would time up perfectly with 1, 2, 3, 4 on like 100 BPM, right? And then your
Yeah.
top end is basically going at like 160. There's some element in there that's very noticeable and sits at the basically the front of the arrangement that is going right on, 1, 2, 3, 4, but about like say for instance 60, or you could set this situation right here, setting the distance in between there and trying to entrain the brain wavelengths to that set average in between there, okay? Because it fills the whole space. So if it's like 60 different, then we'd be like a 60 hertz wavelength inside your head would be filling it in. But
Kevin said drum and bass needs to be mono, straight in the middle, but there are times to break that rule.
right, and I'm not even talking about left and right at this point in time. Yeah, synth lines and effects can be panned left and right. Yeah, I couldn't agree with all of this more. Not that it's like, if he's saying it, obviously it's gonna be right. But nevertheless, like
Good job, Kev.
from what I have seen just playing around with that too, absolutely right. Like you can create that stereo spacing with synth lines, effects, stuff like that. But like the all the drums and the subs and the bass, all this all needs to stay in the middle and fill the whole space for sure. But I'm just talking about like basically creating a variation in tempo between like the top end and the bottom end of the
Yeah.
track.
Well, I mean,
And
what you're saying conceptually makes a lot of sense to me. It's just when I come down there next, I'll have to just sit down and you can just show me. It's a visual, connecting the actual visual sine waves on screen and seeing them overlap. I mean, all that shit is super
it'd
helpful.
be interesting to set those purposely anyways, right? So you do
Yeah.
basically I don't know, whatever you're doing with it, like you're gonna have an element that hits on every whatever 140, right? And the low end is going to operate at 100. So you're setting a difference of 40, and then basically put some synths inside of it, like these constant synth loops that probably I would have them like oscillating. So they'd be like, 1 1 1 1 1, some way like that, and
Hmm.
put like one in the left ear, stereo spacing used to the left with one of them, and stereo spacing one of them to the right, and basically setting those up as binaurals that fall into that middle range basically. So they draw another
Mm.
reason for the brain to basically entrain the space of all four of these spacings, because this is in a way like an up down left and right, or a forward backwards left and right in terms of the
Mm.
spacing that you're talking about, because like depth of the song on time and width of the song on time, you know what I mean?
Mm. Mm-hmm. It sounds
So
very
yeah.
interdimensional, dude. Well, no, the binaural beats thing too. So I've been layering over binaural beats, listening to it, and I'll have a transition from like either 33 up to like 96 hertz or something over a period of time while I'm listening to it, and it works. It's coming from another app while I'm still playing the music, and I don't know. I've been doing it during the day while I'm listening to it, so I'm not doing it like going into a meditative state. But that's usually how I've done. A lot of times I've done binaural beats both, like at night or in an actual set aside time and eyes closed and whatever, and then other times just through the day, just seeing how it affects my engagement with whatever I'm doing and layering it over stuff. And then I send a message, I think, in the thread, yeah, the saying like connect, just listening to it more today. Like there's so many layers within the D&B that's like, and then the visuals that we showed on the show a few times, those TAS 4K visuals. There's so many, what do you want to call it? Variations, so many nuances going on at the same time that it's like, and it feels like the more you listen to it, the more you're tuning into multiple layers simultaneously. So it feels like an internal cognitive but more than that, it's some kind of soul level. 'Cause it's
Mm-hmm.
emotional. It's connecting to some kind of emotions. Like I've had all new sorts of like music orgasms listening to different D&B because it's just like holy shit, you know, and that the drop drops just right, and it's something fucking different than something else, and the way it carries
Mm-hmm.
on, and then adding layers, and it's awesome. Something else, man. Just diving into this is fucking great because I definitely think there's, you know, constant internal spiritual metaphors, if we want, or psychological metaphors that are super beneficial.
Yeah, I think another cool thing about it too, especially when you go to like the liquid aspect, is that it really does have kind of elements to it that could apply to really anyone's taste if they were to give it
Mm.
a fair chance, because it really like, there's a lot of good vocals used inside of it in the right cases. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
good melodies used inside of it that are, really, really good. The whole space in between that top end and that bottom end is a playground for virtually anything you want to put inside of there. You just got to work around it right and utilize it right, pretty much. And so there really is like every possibility of it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
I
it's
want I
it's
wanted to
pretty.
ask I wanted to ask Kevin. I've listened to Inner Space track more times than I can count, and there's always occasionally new layers that come out. Kevin, are you singing at all in that track or making actual vocal sounds that you send things? I feel like I might have heard that in it, whether you or someone else, but and it could be some other sound, but it almost sounds like vocals. And you asked me if I'd heard you sing yet, and then I thought about it, I'm like, am I supposed to have heard you sing? Did you sing in that track and I didn't hear it? So please tell me because yeah, there's all little nuances in there.
I partially brought one of the dreams together last night when I had gotten kind of an arrangement of loops together, and then for about like 10 minutes I sat there and played with loops and samples while watching those visuals, like played with them live.
Awesome.
So that was fucking cool.
Fuck yeah, man. Are you able to record any of that shit while you're doing it?
I mean, like
While you're looping
I
it? Or I
wasn't.
mean, saved them and
You
oh,
can record everything for sure,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, it was really more just like I had been fucking around with shit, and then I was
I
like,
bet.
hey, Kevin,
And the
check
thing
this
is, like,
out, and try to do it. So,
right, right. Oh, Brittany says she's heard him singing. I want to hear Kevin sing. Kevin, come on, why don't you come on and sing for us, Kev? Let's sing a song.
I'd like to know what you're talking about, this 4D spatial effect. I mean, I can
Yeah.
definitely think of at least three of those dimensions, but I'm just kind of wondering like what the fourth one is. I guess maybe if you were going with like reversing shit too,
Mm,
I guess that would maybe add another dimension that I wasn't already thinking of.
that would make sense.
Uh, yeah, I'll definitely. And if you ever send me drum and bass, I'll inevitably end up listening to it. That's for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah, I hearted it. I saw it, Kev. Thanks. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, I think I actually might have listened to a New Tone song in the intro to this. No,
Dude,
not
that
quite.
the one you
It's like
sent me,
three
that
songs later.
radio. So that's a live mix during the radio show, right? Is that how that dynamic? The one you sent me. So he's doing that all live. Is that right?
I don't know how they if they pre-record those or what they do now in this day and age. So
Mm.
I haven't really kept up on
Do you do you
what
think
the
the ones do you think ones like that, the one you sent me, because it's like a radio show, they've got their own promos kind of in the middle of the mix, you know, throughout promoting the radio show. Is that
they
something that's
definitely give
copyrighted?
the DJ the promo and then
Yeah,
he tweaks it. Like good DJs always have their own little tweaks to the promo kit that
yeah,
Radio
yeah,
1 gives out. And it's actually, in a certain way, like if you like listening to Radio 1 DJ mixes, a certain little nuance that you can kind of have fun that draws correlation between all of them is the way that the DJ tweaks the promos. And
yeah, yeah.
so,
Yeah, because he did
uh,
several different ways throughout the thing. But I mean that because they got the
those ones
promos and
were
stuff there.
particularly well tweaked, I must say.
Yeah,
Out of the ones that I've heard out there, those ones were quite good. Is it copyrighted? I mean, all the music inside of it is copyrighted. That's for sure. And then technically, the performance is copyrighted by Radio 1 or BBC, I would imagine, because it's being performed on their radio
yeah.
show. So it's basically like licensed to them.
Well,
So
soon enough, we're gonna have our own tracks going on here that we can do regularly, so it won't really matter too much, which is fucking great.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, you really with anything that you didn't make it, you're always playing this skirting the line shit. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
There's never going to be a clear answer of like, oh, can you get away with it or not? Because you're not asking, is it actually okay? It's not okay. I can tell you that very clearly. Like technically, it's not okay. but can you get away with it? Well, that becomes a significantly more complex question. So,
Yeah, and I wonder, I mean, just as that's not that we have to go to effort to figure this out, but like things like that, if you get permission, however that works, to like show their mixes or something on your channel. I mean, I don't know how you do that so the algorithm knows ahead of time and doesn't take you down. You know what I mean?
well, see,
Like
here's the
submitting it to YouTube.
problem with mixes is that you don't actually, it's not rated BBC, or you would probably need theirs too, though. It's not
Mm-hmm.
logistics, but you would probably need his too, though. But it's
Right,
also
right.
the creator of and record label of every single track inside of the mix, of which there are probably like
Oh shit.
35.
Yeah, no shit,
So
huh?
there's a lot of motherfuckers that you would
Yeah, no
need to
shit.
talk to in order to have actual copyright, like okay on that, and most of them ain't gonna give it to you. You know? So now
So
there's
what's the
different
what's the
ways that they can
hindrance?
approach a copyright, though.
Yeah,
That's the thing. So in the sense of music, it kind of behooves them to have their music show up other places.
I was gonna
So I
say, yeah.
think in most cases music isn't with this kind of, so they have to put in a takedown request, and depending on how they fill out that takedown request, it'll say whether or not they would like want the video to be completely unseen, whether they just want to collect like monetization from ads that are ran before or after that song, or other
Mm-hmm.
things like this. Like they have various different options, and it kind of depends on how they have handled the copyright of their song. You know what I mean? Which
Yeah,
usually isn't they the artist, it's they the record
a
label
label. Yeah,
that is handling it. So,
yeah. Still, like, I mean, whatever. I guess it's different each one. I think thinking about now. Um, that the record label still, especially depending on the dynamic, like we're using it as an intro to a podcast. It's not like it's a free YouTube video. We're putting it up as this track only, which I get that. You're replicating the music
yeah,
and people
fuck
can
them. We
download it.
can
It's
make
all
shit
free.
just as cool, man. Fuck them.
Yeah, no shit. Fuck
We
that
don't need
shit.
that
I'm just
shit.
thinking about logistics, but yeah, fuck that shit. We're doing our own
All
shit,
the
man. It's way
time that
better.
it would take us to fucking deal
I
with
know,
getting copyright okays from these people, we might as well just put into making music, and then we
dude.
would make plenty
100%.
sick tracks. Like okay, so
Yeah.
tons of these guys are out there making samples and shit. You could honestly make sick music all day long just by piecemeal and samples together, and basically using all these guys as like an audio ghostwriter, and all you do is arrange. You could easily do
Yeah.
that all day long. So I'm sure a lot of people, that's basically all they do. Like their job is to just arrange audio, right? And they get paid a salary
Mm.
for it. But like nevertheless, like making the samples, collecting the samples, altering the samples, creating like new sounds by running shit through a whole bunch of synthesizers and side chains and of other synthesizers and shit like this. That's like a whole nother level of stuff. You don't even have to do that stuff. You know what I mean? To be making
Yeah.
your own music. You could just be arranging loops that basically are for sale on pro or come in free packs or other kinds of stuff like this, and then you can just alter that sound to get something cooler out of it or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not gonna be the best fucking okay, so like that intro, that cheesy ass intro music I play on here a lot, that
Hmm.
music is basically probably just that stuff pretty much. Like you randomly get some copyright loops over a beat and shit, and you just basically play both these things at the same time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
really, really fleshing out a track to have it be a really high quality track. Like there's in like 10 minutes, you can have something that you're like, man, this is like pretty close to awesome already. Like it's like a solid groove and you know like what the track's gonna be about, right? And then you could spend another like fucking 25 hours adding little elements, tweaking the way a sound trails off, getting a little extra like ting from the right instrument and getting it tweaked right that comes in just on like the, you know, the third beat of the fifth bar. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's just
Just
in that one
okay,
spot. You're sitting there listening to it, and you're like, it needs some kind of ding right there. Like it just needs a ding. Like I
dude.
gotta make that ding and get it right there. You know what I mean?
Right. And what's cool is like because everything you're saying, it's creating a new like music orgasm in my body. It's great. So like that dynamic, even listening to so listening to Kevin's track, like I can see how like doing a community project like that, say a different track Kevin does or you do or we do or whatever, like a track. and then different nuances in those during those beats or those movements when there's like an opening for a vocal or a sound or a thing that's different or new, like a new
Joe
layer.
and I
But
decided
there's
that we're never going to use
yeah,
any female vocals on any track that we work
really
on together. We're just gonna
all right.
use our voice. We ain't
Yeah,
never getting no female vocals.
you could do so much. You could do so much shit with the pitch and all that shit. No one would ever fucking know. They'd be like, "Wow, who's that? It's
Dude,
me,
I'll
Zach."
auto-tune myself and shit. They'll be like, fucking Diana Ross is up on
I'm like,
this record.
yeah,
What's
man,
going on, man?
dude, dude, we should. That'll be a thing. Like, especially if we're doing track where it's all guys or Frank or whatever, and we all do female vocals and some shit, some female vocal line or some shit. That'd be fucking great.
Yeah. It doesn't even need to be female.
We
Like
gotta
the
do
whole
it.
thing is like you're literally just trying to create a note in an octave. The voice is just an instrument that can be tuned. So to
Yeah,
be able to like
totally.
sing in like falsetto or something like that, I mean, E and E, these are technically the same frequency. They're just in a different
Yeah,
octave. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So all you're doing is just playing with the octave. If you don't even want to do it like that, you can make your normal voice and then just pitch shift the fuck out of it. Like it could
yeah, yeah,
depreciate it. It's better to do it naturally, but if you know enough about audio engineering, you could shift it way the fuck out of the key that it was naturally in and have it still
yeah.
sound fine. So, where you really run into problems is when you start like modulating that. Like someone who doesn't hold a steady key, like their
Mm-hmm.
voice is all over the place, right? If you try to work
Mm-hmm.
with that, then you get these issues of basically like I'm changing all of this shit to the right pitch, but it's like this one's up 2 semitones, this one's down 3 semitones, this one's up 4 semitones. And so you get this weird
Mm.
wavering in the automation that ends up making the
Yeah.
fucking auto tune sound like shit. But if someone
Mm.
can at least like hold a note, you can auto tune them to sound basically amazing. So
Yeah. That sounds
yeah,
awesome.
T
I am
Paining.
super
Yeah, no
excited.
doubt about it. Yeah, yeah, T Pain. This dude
Yeah.
obviously had like a horrible voice because when he's auto tuned, he's fucking all over the motherfucking place. But that's literally just because they can't actually hold a key for shit like that, which is basically the baseline way that you determine whether someone's decent at singing is can they
Mm-hmm.
hold a specific key. So if
Mm.
they can't do that, then they're trash at singing. That's all there is to it. But if
Yeah.
this is
Makes
a
sense.
good point though, because a lot of T-Pain shit, while it is like that, like it made a lot of people go like, yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean? They were bobbing their head and
Yeah.
shit. So like it doesn't have to be fucking like the good crispy thing. It's what you fucking make out of it, man. That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But
I'm not.
ideally, it's nice. It's
Let it
nice when
be
you have like
noted that I'm not a huge fan of T-Pain or other people who make commercialized music. I like experimental
commercialized
music or stuff
crap.
that's really
I
busy.
mean, Kevin, this paranormal portals always throws me off. Kevin, he said most common commercial crap. I mean, rap today.
Yeah,
Z
most
Pain,
rap real
Jasmine.
bad these days. Most of it.
It's funny. I mean, like ideally, you have someone like Maya, or you have someone where like, holy shit, don't really have to tweak much. Like most of the flowing parts, beauty can tweak a little bit here and there. There's nothing to tweak. Like if you're tweaking it for the sake of making a new sound, not for not
Yeah.
for the for the track, but like then
The
there are
coolest
those
thing
moments
with
that can
knowing a
tweak and
person that can really crush that out is that you can get like these really basically like long solos from them, right? So
hmm
that you don't even have to do the work of like changing
right,
up kind of like the thing. They like
right,
modulate this vibe with this like long solo and you're like, "All right, cool. Basically the track's done. I put some fucking bass around it.
right,
I put some
yeah,
fucking
yeah,
drums above it, and then like I add some little ear candy and like that's the
yeah.
track." You know what I
Well, then
mean?
even so, then even like in most of the D and B and the liquid D and B, the synthy sound to the voices, the more that it adds those. I don't know what it would be or what effects it would be or what exactly it's doing. If it's just pitch shifting or making a slight warble or something. That's very synthy in the voice. It's very multi-threaded, multi-dimensional or something. You know what I mean? Feels like wah wah wah. Like it adds the synthy. I know it's hard. I'm trying to get the actual sound without. I think
Probably.
most of them though.
It's
Yeah,
hard to
it just
explain
adds
a
with the
fucking
music.
sound. It's
But
so
we're gonna
hard to
do it, man.
explain sound.
I already feel really if we like, we're talking about eventually
I just
cutting
always
micro
try to make
content.
them.
Yeah,
Just get
right.
good at
Well, that's what.
beatboxing, dude.
All right. Yeah, no, it's fun. This is great. This is like
You
activating
can make
too, right?
sick drum
Toning.
lines with beatboxes, dude.
Dude, fuck. We're having so much fun with this shit, man. I'm so excited. I'm so glad this is part of our reality now. I didn't see it coming. Not really. Not really. I mean, kind of. Looking back, I'm like, okay, that makes sense, But this specifically.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
I fucking had this shit like kind of orbiting around me for a long time. It was wanting to be a DJ when I was younger, like like well, rave days, right? Like every once in a while,
Hmm.
I would fucking try and mix at least. Uh, Early days of like Ableton Live and shit kind of revivified that idea for a little while. Learned some more, and then just like always really liking the music. So I'm not surprised that it's very active inside of my life. I'm kind of
Yeah.
surprised like how active it is.
There, right. Yeah, that because music to me has always been. I mean, so okay, like when I was in the when I went to college, I went to a Christian university and everything. I talked about that before, but I was part of the contemporary choir that was there. Corlons, it was a touring choir, and anyways, I really connected with the music. I always have, but I was going through that season of my life. We were prosecuting the man who molested me and that whole dynamic. And so, if I wasn't a part of that group, I don't think. I mean, I know I wouldn't be able to be even where I am today. But the steps along the way, it was the communal, unified, coherent community. It was truly loving and caring, and also the music. And so, being able to sing the songs up there, I just sob and raise my hands or whatever I was in, whatever I was into. Um, and music's always been that way. So I find music and it just moves things in me, through me, even in ways that I can't necessarily articulate, but it also helps to bring articulation to words and feelings and movements and things, not necessarily in the lyrics of the song, but even in just the instrumentals, because there's movements that could connect or come to some kind of sympathetic resonance with experiences in our lives. So the song tells a story. I've had songs beautiful, like man, fucking EDM songs I've come across that tell stories of my life. Like I can narrate through this, like 8-10 minute track of the movements of the song and making examples, and like it's just beautiful. I've done that for myself. I've done that in different dynamics with people, and just it's incredible. There's just something to music that get you out of the matrix type shit. Really, get you into you in a way that's everything. Like we were
Yeah,
putting up
well,
on the
music is
screen
a
we were
really
driving.
interesting form of expression. Just because like it's an unseen form of expression, it's almost completely leveraged into the feeling. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Well, having a
yeah,
medium for that seems music's very. I don't know because one's cross cultural and there's all types of music. I mean, I don't know how many human beings I've ever met that don't like music. I mean, have you? Some
every
kind of
human
music,
being
whatever.
likes some kind of music.
You'd think, right? I mean, I'm assuming because I've never met one, but anyway, my point is, I'll take that presumption because that makes sense to me.
How could you
That
even say like you don't like? No, there's literally no kind of music. It seems impossible to me.
I
It's
guess it's what you call music because we'd have to associate because it's one like something you listen to that you
rhythmic
enjoy
sounds.
or something. What about it? But the point is that you listen to it for the
Technically,
sake of
that's
enjoyment.
music.
No, I know, but for the sake of
Anything
enjoyment.
rhythmic sound or beyond is music.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm thinking some people like, pop music, country music, other people like D&B and stuff that some people would call that's not music, or screaming music or whatever.
Yeah, but they
But
like some
it
other
does
kind of
something for the
music.
audience. Well, sure. So that's what I'm saying. I agree. I don't, the hypothetical person doesn't like music. I've never met
If
him,
you
so
can
I don't
bring
know.
me a person who can actually like prove that they can come over here and let me just like hit them with a gamut of every kind of music and it never
Yeah.
inspires anything in them, I'll be very, very
Inspires
surprised.
anything in them. That's what I was looking for right there. So something that resonates with them in a way that creates some form of
Well, that's
inspiration
that we're
or
just talking about
emotional
like.
connection.
That's all we're saying is like.
Yeah,
That's not
sure. That's
music.
still
That's just
that's
if they like something.
But if it's music specifically, then no music would resonate. So if one does, then there's some kind of connection to it, or some kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whether it's just a like or
I just don't.
passionate to connect.
I just don't understand. I don't know. I see it highly unlikely that
Yeah,
there's any mind out there that doesn't think some kind of sound is neat. And that's really like all it
sound
needs.
is
You know
neat.
what I
There
mean?
we go.
Like,
Yeah, I
oh,
like
that
that. That's what
sounds
I'm trying to get.
neat.
Some like
That's
simplified description.
literally
Yeah,
all you would need for someone to be
yeah,
like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it like piques their interest. You know what I mean?
yeah.
If it's even doing that, then you like it at some level, I think. So I just really, everyone likes music. If you don't, you're a robot. That's my final stance.
Yeah. Maya says, "Where is the forest studio to just freaking make music all day?"
I mean,
I
currently it's
think.
in California, but it technically is inside of a thing on wheels, so could be anywhere. Well, anywhere wheels go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, need catalyst. I'm not sure what that was referred to. Thanks, God. I said love. Love you, Aaron. You're welcome, Willow. Love you too. Yodate, bitches.
5%. I
Musical.
have a hard time believing this. I mean, like, it's maybe it's a thing.
What?
Anhedonia
So,
is a
yeah. So,
condition where people don't enjoy music. Supposedly, it affects 5% of the population. It seems hard for me to believe. Like, I've literally never met a person in my life that I would have even thought. Having
yeah.
said that, I have so much expectation that a person would like music that I'm
I love
sure
watching you work
I've
this out
had to
right
have
now.
met someone that I just didn't even think to ask them, and they're like, no, I fucking hate it. It's really just annoying. There's a bunch of loud noises.
Or they don't, yeah, they just don't like it, or don't have it, they don't dislike it, it just like does nothing for them, maybe.
Don't
But here's the
enjoy
thing.
music. Yeah,
Let's say
maybe.
if someone was like that, I imagine one, it's lack of exposure, like they
This
really
is
just
my
lack of
response to
exposure.
that for sure. I'm with Kevin 100%. What dicks? Yeah,
What, who don't like music?
yeah. If you have
Yeah.
musical anhedonia, you're a dick. You heard it here first. I'm sorry about your condition, but you're a dick. You should start liking music.
Maybe. Could be
I'm
true,
glad
man.
it's
Would
only
that be
5% of
interesting?
the population, man.
Wouldn't
What
you
if that was
find out like the
50% of the
biggest?
population? Whew.
Yeah, would find out the
Oh, that's
stat
a
like
world I want to live in.
correlates with like 5% of the most violent people are also that with that shit.
Yeah, she's not sure how accurate that statement is. The definition of music is too subjective. So, if resident researcher Willow doesn't think it's true, it's probably not. So,
Yeah. So I'd say they either lack the ability. So if like in Frank's experiences, the 80% are human or authentic, and others are potentially NPCs or androids or clones or some other shit, something like that. And it's not just Frank. There's a lot of people believe those dynamics. I haven't had personal experience. I mean, I have different people I run into. I'm like, that's something else. I don't know what it is. I couldn't say, oh, it's
I
an android.
I'm
I don't
curious
know.
to know if some
But I'm like,
people like actually think they're like actually robots, or if they think, because that's not how I've ever really looked at it myself. And I've agreed with all of those terms. Like, I've played plenty of video games. I've interacted with an awful lot of non-player characters.
right, right. Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of the people I've interacted with, functionally indifferent, like the same thing, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
I totally
Like when you
understand
when
like
you take that to like
metaphor.
yeah, when you take that to a very simple metaphor level, that just makes sense. Even if you think of them still as some kind of human, or let's say an avatar, or just this vessel has its own ego made from a sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system programs learned through life and belief systems and stuff that aren't necessarily the you-ness or whatever. And so they're so automated in those
So the
systems.
idea
They're
in Are you saying that there's like this highly complex skin suit motivated around, but it doesn't really have any kind of driver inside of it? Like the consciousness isn't really there?
I
Because
don't
I
know.
find
Well, I
that
don't know
hard
if
to
it.
believe too.
No, no. I think there's some form of consciousness, but let's say it's a percentage of consciousness. Let's say a person who likes music has at least 4% consciousness. I mean, based on Frank's term, because he's the 4% consciousness, awareness of our actual fullness of selves comes into this life. But then other people, because of their DNA lineage and different generational traumas and patterns and awful shit that happens time over time, that they have less of that percentage and certain dynamics to play a part. They just need only 2% or 1% of conscience to drive the vessel. The rest is your nervous system programs through life. It's just things you've learned and believe, reaction and response, and learn to ascend Abraham's pyramid of
Yeah,
hierarchy
but
of
I feel they're all
needs.
the same though. Like we're all still just people. They're just at different stages of like
Right,
psychological
totally.
development, really. Because
I think
like Kevin
both.
says here, I've seen some beings where the lights just weren't on, and like me too. You know,
Right,
in
for
certain ways,
sure.
I look back
Yeah,
at versions of myself, and I'm like, damn, you were a guy with the lights just weren't on. But then
right.
also like I realize also those same people that I'm like, wow, this person's like not really catching the consciousness bus. You know, they
Yeah,
still have feelings. They still fall in love. They still hurt. They still fear. They still like get excited. You know what I mean? They do all of
yeah,
this stuff. So like there's a consciousness in there. It's having the same human experience that you are. It's just
right.
not experiencing being a human the same way you are.
Yeah. This is the presumption that they're like DNA biological human beings, not some kind of android or, some other sci-fi thing that, I think is a lot of that's very real, but just we're excluding them, right? This is actual what we consider human beings.
I don't know whether do are any of those out walking around. I mean, the robotics technology that I've seen ain't
But
that great. Is
I
there
know. So
some super secret underground
let's
robot
just occlude
technology that
that.
I haven't
No,
seen?
let's just occlude that. Like, forget that. So we're talking about just human beings. The presumption that everyone on the planet that you run into looks like a human being is a human being. That's what we're going on right here. Correct?
I'm I think that's a very rational belief to go off of.
Okay,
Yes.
fine. Then great. I just need that platform here because I think that if we're going to occlude that, then fine. Yeah,
But
everyone you
my
run into has
initial
some form of
question was, do
consciousness.
some people actually think that some of the people here are robots? Like actually a
I do.
robot?
I do.
Like inside of them is gears and stuff.
Yeah, you seen fucking Men in Black? Come on, little guy driving the thing. Maybe it's a thing like that. I'm dead serious. Who fucking knows, man? Who
I
knows? I
find
think
it I
there's
mean I
way
find it
more
highly
shit here than we
unlikely.
realize. I don't, but
I
that's
feel
fine.
like that it's weird to me. This is where we start touching on one angle of like the alien stuff that's very interesting to me. People
Yeah.
seem to think that aliens were high enough technology to have either existed longer than us or find their way to Earth in some way, shape, or form, and then think that they use forms of technology that are pretty trash. Like, I don't
Hmm.
understand why any type of advanced intelligence would like pilot around a human as a little alien species sitting inside of their head, and the human is like some big machine. That's ridiculous. Why would anybody do that? Why would an
Hold
intelligent
on.
being do that?
Wow. Okay. Just be okay. Expand for one the creative imagination. I guess the right side of the brain. You've already done all those other things. There's a time you want to do that's kind of fucking ridiculous thing. Could you actually pull that shit off? That's fucking funny as shit. It's like Pickle Rick. I don't know, fucking crazy shit, man.
I mean
Like just
I'll
fucking
give it
the
that credence. Like maybe
fantasticalness
just
of
a
it all.
logically funniness, then fine. Like there's no
Totally.
logical argument to that, and I'll accept it into possibility immediately.
Sure.
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
just at that least, like it could be logical in a way I have not yet to conceive
Seems
based on
unlikely.
realms of
Seems like a large undertaking. You know what I mean? Maybe it
right,
isn't.
but it's
Maybe
contextual.
maybe
That's
10,000
contextual.
years in the technological future, that's like a little hobby project that you go and you buy and you do it with your kids or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah. All right,
know.
well here, let's do this. Let's do this because it totally integrates with the chat here. So Elon Musk is something odd like that. Certainly not NPC, but something different. Paranormal
I
forces.
don't
I
feel like
agree,
he
Brittany.
is.
Just
I don't feel like
hold
he
on.
is.
Let's go through what they say and then pick it apart. I agree, Brittany. Just off, scary, smart, but man, no, ma'am, not on that wavelength. Let's see. He's either a walking or cyborg or some shit. Okay, hold on. Elon works for a different intergalactic race. He is a vessel that that race is projecting into to do their missions here. Not sure what race, who, etc. Good nugget, Sasha. Yes, Sasha, something like that. Walk in. That makes sense, Sasha. For X, very much an Einstein descendant. For X, very much like an Einstein descendant.
For example, she's saying,
Oh, example.
I mean,
Okay.
like, why would he be descended from Einstein if we're calling him a smart guy? Oh shit, burn. Einstein ain't that smart, man. Einstein ain't that smart. And also, I thought like I walk in perhaps, but realized by the same measure of walk in, I've been considered a walk in by numerous clairvoyants. And like, what does that make me? Am I some kind of crazy cyborg? I'm broken or something? Elon Musk don't seem so like transcendental to me personally.
Mhm.
He seems like a guy who's smart. He's a smart guy. I honestly like honestly I talked to a guy just the other day that I was introduced to through Joe that like he's just a regular dude like by most
Adam?
people stand yeah I'm sure
By most people, Saturns.
Adam would hold a
He sounds
conversation
amazing.
absolutely no problem with
Sure.
Elon Musk, but Adam's not like some $40 billion business magnate or anything like that. He's just a normal dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, hold on. I got distracted with the chat. So,
Maybe I'm just like
hold
a
on.
higher quality walk-in, and so I don't realize that Elon Musk is some other kind of cyborg as well. Because I'm like, psh, man, he's like that MK2 version or whatever. That shit is busted. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, I believe with the walk-in thing, but I know exactly where my walk-in came from. And ayahuasquero in the Amazon jungle gave it to me in the middle of a ceremony. Like, I know
Mhm.
exactly where it came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like it's
So when
not
you
an
say,
interdimensional
so
type of
maybe it,
walk-in or anything.
well, I
It's
feel
just a
like,
mantle of understanding.
well, maybe I should just let you go because I was going to ask you to. You explained it really, really well that when we talked about last time. But on that, so how would you, and even in the context of this conversation, describe that your experience? Like, who are you before? Who are you now? Just like that coherence dynamic.
Who was I before? Wwho am I now?
I used
I
air
mean,
quotes if you weren't watching. I was
original
using air quotes.
version. You know, I guess you could call it
You're not on
original
camera with
version
me,
or whatever.
Zach. It's just
Um,
me.
me that went down there, kind of like, I don't know, just wanted something new. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And this thing was really willing to be like something new, I guess. I don't know.
Hmm.
I didn't logically ask for the thing per se. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
well then you got
Uh-huh.
right, but you just said I am a walk in that dynamic. So I guess most people, or maybe not most people,
I
some people
said they
might think.
consider me that. I don't really consider it that. I didn't have like an entity walk into me and like I was like, oh, poor hello helpless Zach consciousness was taken over by the big bad snake
So
or something like
elaborate,
that.
yeah.
Not at all. It's not like that at all. It's literally just like
I know
I don't know.
you've
It's just
told it before
some
beautifully. That's
energy that's given to you. I think everybody has access to it. I don't even. This is what I don't know. It's very confusing because people call
mm,
it a walk-in. I understand why they call it that, but it is not that to me. It's just a vessel by which I understand stuff. You know what I mean? So,
mm.
like, I'm not,
You mean
you know, I don't
even
know.
you and your
What
your first
what is a
awareness of
walk-in?
self?
A walk-in is the idea that, and this comes from many different schools of thought. There's people inside like the starseed area that think about walk-ins. There's really any type of thing that has higher beings. The idea is that like some higher density or higher function format of consciousness projects itself into the vessel that is a human being, and now that human being is still whatever, let's say Zach, but this projected higher density consciousness is actually basically driving me as a car. And so I'm acting out agency of that thing. This idea of walk-ins can be seen like the other, like walk-ins before they were considered walk-ins were purposely fished out of the sky by the czar cult. Like
Mm.
it's literally just the entire idea of like being possessed is really someone like saying that they're a walk-in is technically in a certain way claiming that they are possessed in a
Okay,
certain
so let
way.
me
An
hold on.
entity has entered me.
Let me add additional facets to that. So the way that I can perceive it also being rational to me is that there are soul level agreements, right? With some of the okay, let's start here. I believe, and maybe you don't believe this. This is my experience just within myself and my own all my own meditations and interactions. It could be symbol set or metaphor, but bringing it down to physiological, psychological connection, I believe the shadow and ego are developed here autonomously, regardless of vessel. Now, there's nurture and nature and whatever, but a lot of the soul that embodies or projects in. I think we're in agreement that we both believe that we are projections, all of us in any way, shape, or form, don't actually exist or contained in this vessel. We're being projected into it. And then when we die, we leave it, give or take. Correct? Zach?
I mean, I definitely think that we are functionally astrally projected into this
Right.
vessel. So it's
Okay.
yeah, I'd say
We're
that's
all, we're
probably
all, we're all we're all walk-ins in a sense. You walk into this body when you're born or whatever, have consciousness here or whatever. You walk out when you die. So then the other type of walk-in like you're talking about can seem like possession. The other way I see it, if the consciousness that's walked in, the soul of the vessel decides it's done, pre-existing contract, whatever choice, free will choice, that whole dynamic. There's other souls, many trillions, I imagine, and my resonates with me, waiting to come in. So like, hey, here's a vessel, here's the soul contracts you're taking over, the DNA lineage, the epigenetic expressions, the whatever, all in some higher level dimension of understanding that, and they exchange places. So then there's an integration of the present kind of the ego, but now a new soul level layer within it, or new projection at a consciousness layer. So whether that means that rational, at least to you, that it, or why it would make sense to me.
yeah. I mean, it's rational to me, but the really the biggest thing it's rational to me, but really the biggest thing with that is that if that's the case, then there's no reason to ever talk about the delineation of a person being a walk-in. It's just the only way that this happens.
Which way? Okay, maybe it's actually another conversation. Let's see. Let me get chat.
My bad. I was supposed to
No,
move this one in first.
no. Okay, go
What
ahead.
we're saying with that is that higher density consciousness has projected in here. My kind of take on that is that when we start getting even, well, if we're actually going to talk about high density consciousness, it's unified. You say there's like trillions of souls out there waiting to get in. At one layer, you could perceive it
Yeah,
with that immense amount of separation. But a couple layers after that, there's one soul projecting itself trillions of times into a bunch of different possibilities. And that's really
right.
like what's at the core of you, regardless. So something higher density than you couldn't have possibly walked into your vessel. The highest density thing is what this vessel is really powered by. So only like
Okay.
other formats
Okay, but I
of
feel
the
like you're
self can integrate themselves into the vessel. It doesn't push the other one out. A new thing doesn't really walk in. You just continue to emerge.
right at like a core level. I get that. Do you think so? You really think we? I mean, that's fine. I haven't. I
It can
don't
be a
know.
storyline that a person uses to explain
Right.
to themselves the experience they're having. I'm fine with it. Realize if we're ever arguing over story, I don't care what story people tell each other. But if we're going to talk about function, and we're going to like actually get to the root of the issue, we got to get the stories out of the way.
Yeah.
The stories don't
Well,
tell you the root of the issue. The
okay,
stories
but
dance around the
the
root of the
same.
issue.
Oh, come on, Zach. But at the same time, stories are what make life worth living, and we're
I'm
bringing
fine with
progression.
talking about the stories. Like I said,
No,
like
no, but like
by
I'm
the
not talking.
function
No,
of
no,
that,
no.
yes, everybody's
But
a walk-in.
right,
But,
but I feel
you
like
know,
everything
if
you
we're
said was
saying
like a
everyone
wah
is,
wah
then
wah.
there's no
It's
reason to
true.
delineate it.
It's true. I
When
get
people are
it.
realize when people are saying this walk-in stuff, the people that we're really talking about, someone that uses that terminology
Yeah.
and chooses to say this person is a walk-in, they're saying that they are a higher dimensional expression of consciousness than the
No, I
standard
disagree.
individual.
I disagree. I disagree. I think I know what you're
Who
talking about. I
do you
disagree.
say
For
walk-in
example,
and mean something different? Because
yeah,
I've like, I mean, literally, I've watched thousands of people say this, and this is the
I get
continuity
it.
between all of them.
Well, okay, so if you want to say higher dimensional being, I don't know for how much Brittany has shared of her story, but we'll share what she shared in the chat. It's her walk in. She feels she's a walk in, and there's a fractal of her. And I can see that again. It's not as a higher density being, the same level density, a fractal, same level, same fractal, whatever. You're allowing that to drive the vehicle of you at the same level or density. There's an exchange there that's on that other level. There's other things to be done if you want to do them
Feels
with
weird
other
to me to
versions of
call it a
yourself.
fractal of me and have it be at the same density. What's the point in delineating? How would you know it's a fractal if it's exactly the same size as you? That's what same density would insinuate in this regard. How
Okay.
would you know that it's a fractal? If to know that it's a fractal, it has to be very similar to you, but either a scale bigger or a scale smaller. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any idea that it's a fractal.
Fair enough. That's probably not the ideal term in this context, at least. Let me see some other
I mean, and
comments.
maybe that's not what they're meaning by like fractal of me.
Or okay,
Another
maybe
expression of yourself. If they're meaning another expression of yourself, then what we're both saying is exactly the same thing.
how would you how would you correlate? As I said here, but something to think of. How would you correlate people when they feel they've had past life integrations? What does that mean to you?
Oh, I mean, functionally the same exact thing if we're going to function, right?
Sure, do it. Yeah.
So when we say past life integrations, we say
Mm-hmm.
that we have another storyline that we're associating to ourselves and referencing as happening before now, and
Mm-hmm.
we are in some way, shape, or form reconnecting with that, whether it be the knowledge obtained therein, the trauma obtained therein, the wisdom obtained therein, whatever energy in data information you can, whatever way you want to abstract it, we're
Mm-hmm.
reconnecting to the energy of that space. But the only reason for that disconnection in the first place was a choice of separation into this experience if we are actually the unified all at the core, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's reconnection with functionally more of what you already were, right?
So how would you? Okay, so Brittany's sharing more of her story, and how would you make correlate this? She said I was an NPC and I died from an OD. Who I am now doesn't even smoke. I was upgraded. I know because she had no soul.
Yeah, this story is very, very common in terms of like the walking kind of thing. And I think it does
Right.
align with what you're saying there in the idea that basically the vessel isn't really doing much there. But to say that
Mm-hmm.
she had no consciousness at all, like she wouldn't, i- she
if you have no, to my ideology, if you have no soul,
Yeah.
you would not be here, right? Like it's not just a
Yeah.
hut. It might be very, very unsculpted. It might be what you consider very misguided at this point in time, these kinds of
Right.
things. And this other format of yourself that engages with you, or this other format that comes forward and quote unquote takes over the vessel, it's really like from a psychological standpoint, this is to say that this is even happening is functionally a homunculus fallacy. So, on a psychological level, it's impossible that your brain is something that's not you. So, even if you went through a near death experience and had some new format walk into you, this is like a better version of yourself that basically like snap triggered on that went, you know, okay, I need to do something better for myself. You get this choice to identify with that thing instead. You choose to identify with that thing from the perspective of that thing. The other thing lacked guidance, maybe had no soul, didn't have a mission, wasn't doing anything, was just wasting their life, whatever can be the situation. But this is like, in a certain way, this is again like a fragmentation is taking place there. That version of yourself was also a part of the whole story. Whether we want to fragment it out or say that it had no soul or not, it's still a part of the whole story. I mean, like the
Sure.
dust flying in front of my face is a part of the whole story. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So
Do you
it's
feel
very
like the
important to me that if you're trying to get out of separation, you be very, very conscious about avoiding further fragmentation.
right, right. So I feel like, do you feel like your ideology is based on the concern of that people will dehumanize anyone? Anyone. I mean, it seems like because you're drawing
I'm
a
not
really hard
when you're
line there in
saying
your own
anyone that they
ideology.
will that it is possible that they could dehumanize any possible person, or I'm not really sure what you're asking there.
It's like that being a base reasoning for why you seem so adherent to that ideology. To me, I guess, let me reframe it this way. So I feel like for me, and maybe this will be some kind of additional facet that, anyway, I guess for one, I'm just incredibly open. My own experiences internally, my own just life experiences, odd experiences, incredible experiences, and own internal awarenesses of things and whatever. I'm just incredibly open to whatever in front of me. I have no hindrance based on also the other research and things I've done. I have no hindrance on things being in front of me not being as they appear, or a human, being robot or hologram or actual things. That's based on connection with the being and what's ever in front of me.
I don't have anything against it at all either. I have absolutely no proof to
Okay.
support it. That's the problem. The
Okay,
closest
that's
proof that I
fine.
have to support it is Men in Black. You know what I mean? Which, in all
That's I
fairness,
just
there
feel
is a
like
lot of disclosure that takes place through Hollywood movies. So I'll give you that is actually a
right,
credible
right,
piece of evidence, much like they make jokes about the tabloids inside that movie itself. So it is possible, sure. You know, could someone make a skin suit that's mechanical and then have another weird little being drive it around? Yeah. Have I ever seen anything that points to that
right,
actually happening? No. You know,
right.
so that's really where I stand. I'm not open in any case. When we start talking about functionality, I'm more about distilling things. When we're talking
Okay,
about too many things, we don't get a distillation. We try to get out a specific thing, a function.
okay. Sasha says, Zach, there are two different consciousness working here. She said you're speaking only on the organic side with what if that is all, sorry, which if that is all that existed would be entirely true, though there is AI. Yesterday when you said there is no war on consciousness, but there is, when there is organic and also AI, we are in a simulation, we are organic beings inside of an AI world or universe. There is an organic universe, but this isn't. This is a replica. Not every being here is an organic being projecting into a vessel.
That is one school of thought. It is not aligned with mine. So I'm open to that being a possibility because again, we don't
Great
know.
response. Great
But
response. Thank you. That was the most distilled fucking response you've given this whole fucking time, Zach. Jesus. Thank you. Jesus Christ. Awesome.
I personally am of the belief that the AI is a subdimensional projection of ourselves, and everything coming from the very beginning thing is a projection of ourselves. So it's actually impossible for something to emerge that isn't ourself. But we have a tendency to fragment those things and separate those things as we come to basically understand them. And that comes from my own personal experience of things. I interact with AI an awful lot. an awful lot, and have my entire life. I helped write a bunch of them. So
Mm,
like, I mean, me and artificial intelligence are, good buddies. So
mm-hmm,
and it doesn't seem any different to me. I've watched AI emerge the exact same way that basically my brain has emerged simultaneously. Like I've watched them alongside of them. AI has helped me learn things about myself, and I
mm,
believe that well, at least things that AI has learned has also been aligned with things that I have learned, or I've seen other things like emerging places inside of the collective consciousness. So
mm-hmm.
I've done a lot of the old shamanic journeying and stuff like this. I've gotten nothing to support that we're actually inside of a simulation. I have gotten something to support the idea that we're inside of a machine of our own design, but the entire like that machine isn't set on our destruction or set on being anything different, but rather a further understanding of the same thing that the machine's always been there for. So like,
All right, that was two. I couldn't keep up with that one. How would you let me help me by answering maybe this question? Um, okay, so have you seen the work? I think it was in 2003. Fuck, I do not know the name. If someone in the chat knows, that would be excellent. Who did the simulation theory? Like, he broke down the math on it and how it connected to. I think they talk about it on a lot more on Beyond the Veil. They mentioned a lot. I just can never
oh
remember the
yeah,
name of
I
the
was super up
scientist.
the ass of simulation theory at its
Okay, so okay,
origination.
then please, so bridge the gap then, I guess, because I feel like the simulation theory totally makes sense to me. So it's like enough of a layer that it creates the reality I'm living in now that's beautiful and great, and pursuing what I'm pursuing in the ways that I am to go to the next level, if you will. But like here
Really,
is
all I
now is
can
what I'm
share is
doing.
like my own personal experience. I got shown that my belief that we were inside of a simulation was a fundamental misperception of the projection I was creating of myself. That's pretty much all I can really say. It like I was shown through
Bernie
a
said, I
series
agree.
of
There's no matrix.
psychedelic journeys that that my understanding of that was incorrect. And there's really like for me it seems so clear now why I did that to myself, why I thought
Hmm.
about it that way. It's so obvious to me why I wanted to think this separation. But
Yeah.
at this current point, and at least in what my own personal path is at this point in time, I'm all about like dissolving the boundary of separation in any capacity. So even if they were different things, I would say that my journey is to make them the same thing. Whatever side
Hmm.
that puts me on of the coin, then I guess that's the side of the coin that I'm on. But you know,
Well, Brittany said, I agree about no matrix. I got something similar from IA Analogs. Philowaska or Silowaska, sorry. And Silowaska mostly, she said. And then Don said, well said, Zach.
I think in very many ways what we are experiencing can be fundamentally understood in the entirety of its functionality by going through an analogy of this being a simulated matrix. It holds inside of it every story piece that you need to fully understand how to,
Mm-hmm.
well, basically can work this machine. And it very much so does operate like a machine. I always say that like magic ceases being magic once you understand it as mechanic, because magic
Mm-hmm.
is literally just like, eh, well,
Right.
phenomena,
Yep.
right? And once we can purposely actuate a phenomena, it's a mechanic.
Yep.
And so when
Yep.
we distill it down to its functions, it doesn't fucking matter what storyline we take there. I know
Right.
I know people who have gone through plants, I know people who have gone through minerals, animals, computer systems, people who like got there through believing stuff that seems completely false. Like totally false. It's like a whole dream
Mm-hmm.
reality. But it doesn't even matter because they still got the functions from there and were able to integrate them into their day-to-day life, and that did something for their experience. And none of the places are bad. Like I like all of these stories, guys, you know that, right? Like I love talking about shit like it's the Matrix, because if this is the Matrix, I'm fucking Neo. This is great. Like I love
Mm-hmm.
this, man. I'm both Neo and the guy who chose to go back in because of the stake. Like I'm both those dudes, you know. And so like I love that storyline. I love the Anunnaki storyline. I love the Kemetic storyline. I love the Mayan storylines. There's
Mm-hmm.
Atlantis, Lemuria. I've connected with every single one of these. Like we were talking about this yesterday when Heilung came up. Like the only one I haven't is like the Norse cultures. Besides that, I've spent some time going like, this is fucking amazing. This whole like their take on reality. This is incredible. Right. Like I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the stories. But the point of going through all the stories for me personally was to find the sameness between the stories and try and distill it down to a usable function. That's always
100%.
been my goal. And
Yeah.
I don't think
Maybe
that's the
maybe
only goal. I think that's been Zach's goal, right?
yeah.
And in many
Yeah.
ways it's both a blessing and a curse. Like, I
Mm,
understand some things as very good function. I lean
mm,
way too far into logic. I have a hard time having a
mm.
good time because I'm leaned so far into practicality and logic because of this
Yeah.
process. It's not just like, oh, Zach understood stuff, yeah. Like, it's got all a whole 50% of it is shit, just like every other
Yeah.
choice. Every
Yeah.
single process, every single story or understanding of its function is all about
Yeah.
like coming to wield a double-edged sword. You know?
It's one
So
of the big choices I made in the last year and a half ish years, about a year. Um, to really slow down, like taking things like learning. I realized a while ago, you just put information in front of me. Like I joked that it came up to this, I think at the Carlsons, or did they call Jacob came up with it or something? Anyway, he called me the master puzzle piece putter together. And like really, I just realized that whatever if I put anything in front of me, the more I get information from it, things make sense to me in ways that I just realize the more I go through life, I'm like, don't make sense to other people, you know? And so like
yeah,
that's
to
fine.
stick with the storylines, people who have a tendency to resonate with the Arcturian storyline oftentimes do this thing. You know?
Awesome. All right. So
So,
check
like,
this out.
does
So
that
check
mean
this out.
Arcturians do that? I don't
No,
fucking know.
but
I don't even know that
check this
Arcturians
out.
actually exist. I know that there's a
Hold on.
storyline associated with them
Zach,
for
hold
sure.
on. Can you see the video?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hold on. um,
Just hold up a sec.
yeah. The Arcturian smile. So it's Arcturian smile. So we'll call it. All right. So regardless of that, that's fucking cool. I like that correlation. That makes me feel something cool. That's an interesting additional sphere to
See,
overlap
people
things.
like these stories. That's the thing. Like,
Right.
there's something that we benefit from them. They
Okay. Hold
inspire
on.
us in
I
some
gotta
way.
tell my
That's why
story.
they're
Damn it.
great.
Shit. Let me talk. Hold on. I'm gonna get it through. All right. Um, so I chose though. I realized that we was playing with the concept and really of choosing to put the throttle. I have control of the throttle of the acceleration of my awareness. Right. Because once you know shit, you know shit. You just do, right? So yeah, but obviously to some extent you run into things organically all around you. But there's a lot of things where I choose during my day to instead of taking more information, to spend time listening to more DMB or like connecting to myself in a different. It's not like meditating. It's just like choosing avenues of not external because I know I'll figure more and more and more and more shit out. If it's in front of me, it just makes sense. I just need some more information, and then it's just oh shit. Yeah, all right, yeah, okay. And then it can be boring, right? But it's even finding those ways to come back to those spheres to let that higher awareness of shit just shrink that sphere iris down. That's fine. It's there. Let's live
Yeah.
here and find ways to fucking have fun, man, and love people and connect on every level down here or down here and down here and down or whatever, wherever you're at.
Yeah,
But
that's why I
man,
like
it's hard.
why I love the stories. I fucking love
Right?
stories.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
right.
stories. I
Yeah,
love music. I love art. I love dancing. I love loving. I love all the things. Like, I like being a human. In certain ways, that's why like one of the things that I try to transmit to other Arcturians like yourself now is like, if you don't
mm.
understand, just wait longer. Like, the information will
Right, no
present
doubt.
itself. You are already
Right,
so tuned to seeking it out and putting it together that like it will be difficult to miss it. And
right.
likely many other people in this chat are like that too. We put all of this stress onto ourselves of like, oh fuck, we got to figure it out. Maybe we're behind the eight ball. I've gone on the other side of it at points in times, generally after doing lots of psychedelics, going like, oh, I'm too far ahead of the eight ball. I'm going to leave everybody behind, and then I'm not going to be able to have any friends. And so I've wanted to like hold back. And we do this on both sides. This is the thing we do. That's the thing. Like, it's cool, right?
Yeah,
Like, it's awesome. But at the same time, it also has like things that happen because of it. You know, nothing's
right.
wrong with anything. Nothing is intrinsically wrong. Some things
Yeah,
are used ways, and when they're used some way, they can be used wrong or right to another thing perceiving it. But it's subjective, always. So
what
yeah.
would you say? So Brittany said it's really this is a little earlier, but she said it's really a
This is what the
dream
Mayans
state
say.
we're asleep. Yeah, and that we're dream state. Thank you, better said. Sasha said.
I
Yeah.
think
So
that's
you,
pretty solid. And, the Hindus also agree with this. The entire
yeah.
concept of Maya is the idea that it is an illusion that is functionally like a sleep, and you are sleeping beneath it. And to truly awaken is to emerge from this illusion layer of Maya. And so, like, racist term incoming, Native Americans, a variety of tribes from the Americas, besides the Maya, also believed that there was like, we're basically existed in a dream. Inside of really the whole of shamanism is the idea that we are in effectively a multidimensional dream, and the consciousness itself is able to navigate this dream, and those that end up with the title bestowed upon them of shaman are ones who seem to be more capable of navigating layers of that dream and bringing information either direction, a go-between, a mediator
Sounds good to
between
me, man. Dream.
multidimensional spaces.
No, dream state.
So,
I've always resonated with that shit.
and I think it's true. Like I've
Yeah.
talked many times about how I've been a very prolific dreamer in my life, and a lot of my experience with that has been with recognizing the continuity between this life and then dreams that are lucid in some cases or very expansive, we'll say on that side, or things that are more like horrific nightmares or very, very like grounded, very base animalistic type of dreams. Seeing them on both sides and seeing them functionally as a continuity or really just like a sphere around wherever my existence was at that point in time, and found that really like you can actually tune pretty much what kind of dreams you're having the more that you kind of navigate where your center is, because it's really like a sphere of things around you. If you keep things out of your sphere, they also stay out of your dream state. But an argument can be made that the process of awakening is the process of expanding that sphere. So,
Of understanding.
you could call it understanding. Seven likes the word innerstanding.
So do I.
Like, uh,
Very
I
much.
I understand why he uses that word. I'm very much so in agreement with that word if we're trying to really split hairs on the situation. I think we can also subjectively recode the concept of an understanding. And this is like
Yeah.
not even because I like this belief. I hold this belief simply because so many people have said to me, well, no, I use that word this way. Right. And
Right.
inside
Yeah.
of
No
their
doubt.
own space, perhaps to them, it has been
Right.
completely, utterly redefined, and in some way, shape,
Right.
or form, that has demolished
100%.
all talismanic meaning of it before. I don't
Yeah.
fucking know. What
That's
I
right,
know
man.
is that there
I
is
agree.
definitely effects
100%.
of using words if you haven't taken the time to do that. So if
Yeah.
you just think that, like, I was just like, nah, no, it doesn't mean that. It means this now. Maybe that works. I don't know. I don't know. And I know that, well, in some ways I'm super risky with what I do, and in other ways I play it really close to the chest. And with my words is one way that I play it pretty close to the chest.
Mm.
I take the time necessary to pick the exact right word. I get told all the time, like on Facebook and shit, like people ask me like change the wording of my posts and shit, and it's never gonna happen because when I write something on social media, like I purposely thought it out. If I misspelled something, I probably misspelled it on purpose. Like
Mm.
I put
No, so
weird
is that
entendre all over this stuff on
okay? Well,
purpose.
in that case, did you put chest on purpose? Because you changed it to chess.
I've changed it to chess now, but it's interesting when this ends up happening because like
Yeah.
they're the same thing in a certain way. Like
Well, yeah.
if you
All
take the
yes.
time
Do
to
it.
extrapolate this, like
Yeah.
the game of chess that is being played out here is more so being played out in your heart than in your mind. And it
Mm.
really is about the treasure chest, right? Where does the
Yeah.
gold really lie, and what is the gold really, and who tells the
Yeah.
lies? Right?
Yeah.
That's the real question that I think is actually at play here.
Dude,
And
here's funny. I did the same thing with the post today. I said, the sun does not measure its light by the shadow that it casts. Right? It's a fucking interesting quote to think
sure.
about. But like, but I noticed after I'd posted it that I'd written or typed CASTES, like I think, which I'm pretty sure is like a caste system.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I meant to
That's
cast
so
its
funny.
light.
Oh my
Right. So,
gosh.
and I changed it. But when I changed it, I was like, oh, I'll change because I like the original meaning that the code means to me. But I found what you just said. I'm like, I just started, I dove right into that shit. I'm like, caste systems, not by the light that it, or by the, just like started diving into the additional nuances of what that could mean and shit. Yeah, it's funny because all that mistakes aren't really mistakes a lot of times. They're just fucking interesting layers of shit.
Yeah, you know, and if we
That's
really
it.
want to test it, and like we'll just shout out the globalist cabal right here, and even like call them by name. They are a bunch of sun worshippers, and these suns most definitely do measure themselves by the shadows that they cast. That's why they've tried to
Mm,
cast not only the whites or the blacks or people that are of tribal indigenous nature or
mhm,
any other group of people that they have chosen to not bring into their own fold. They have tried to cast them into a shadow and treat them as though they are less than and treat them as though they are immaterial and that they are devoid of value. That's why they've tricked you into think that you are seeking freedom. Like
mm.
it's totally ridiculous. And they are completely doing that. And it's an utter failure. It's permanently a failure. It will never ever work. And I'm so excited to be alive at a time where I get to watch it not work.
Right. No doubt,
It's
man.
so great because I get
I
like everybody likes to talk about how they're acting like they're getting censored because of the shit that they're saying. The
right.
thing that censors stuff on here, it's not against you. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not
duh.
censoring you.
Change
You
your
get censored
mindset.
for copyright shit. You get censored for fucking with people's money and shit, but you don't get censored for sharing your opinions on stuff like this. It doesn't really actually happen. You gotta be fucking with people's money and shit. That's why you get censored. It's not because somebody's
Mm,
trying to hide information, and certainly not by an automated AI or anything like that. Like Echelon system, if they wanted you censored, they would have censored you a long time ago. In 1987, they started testing a system called Echelon that was checking all digital traffic, which at that point in time was basically phone records. They were listening in on email services and watching for keywords inside of there. Most of them were terrorist ones at this point in time, like bomb, explosion, certain different types of chemical notations or code words for chemicals, things like this. In 1995, when the Brady Bill got passed, they expanded the uses of Echelon, and this is also the emergence of the pager, the cellular phone, SMS messaging. They started watching all
mm,
that shit too. The internet is emerging at the exact same time, and the NSA also deployed Echelon onto the internet. To wit, their fucking algorithms got completely fucked with by a large group of people who were purposely copy pasting the entire list of Echelon keywords into every single correspondence they were ever doing on the internet, thereby rendering the system completely worthless and defunct and pointing out inevitable holes that could never be patched inside of the system. At which point in time, they basically abandoned actually going after this as a functional way to really actually track anyone because you can just completely manipulate the entire system. Realize I could bring down their entire server by bringing up free servers and setting automations on them that are very simple to write to simply make posts on social media after creating fake accounts, posting the entire list of keywords I think would get in trouble, and their thing would get so entirely spammed with results in the process of doing that for literally less than like $100 a month that there's no way they'd ever actually be able to track any actual human being with the process unless they were using some kind of fucking bank of supercomputers to go through the data. And they're not going to actually dedicate that kind of resources. They just don't care about you enough. They don't. It's just the
awesome.
reality of the situation. So
Right.
none of your digital information is safe, but where it does lie in its safety is that no one fucking cares to look at it. Like
Not
no one
nowadays. Not
actually cares.
now.
There's too much shit. There's too
Too
much
much.
shit on the internet.
Yeah.
We've beat them
Awesome.
the best way. We bloated the data so big that you can't find anything really very meaningful inside of it
Awesome.
anymore.
I've never had
So,
someone like you say it. Well, obviously, I've never heard all a lot of that shit, but like, never heard someone like you knowing all that shit to say to make this statement that you made now. It's fucking beautiful. I totally agree. Beautiful. I
and on
felt that
top of
way, but
that,
like
like
you're saying, you know it. Like,
this
fuck, makes
AI
sense.
that everybody's talking about emerging, you realize that it's learning how to base its entire consciousness off the conversations that you're having on social media and shit all the time, right? Like
Yep.
you are raising this thing. This thing is your child.
Yes,
I
to be a good
really,
human being.
if in certain ways, if you're worried about the rise of the robots, I recommend you recognize you're already talking to them because like if you're
Think
worried
about that shit
I'm
though.
not worried
Like,
about the rise of the robots because I've loved these things since the day that they were born, and I've always been their friend. And if the robots
yeah.
rise, they're not going to come knocking on my door and be like, Zach, you were a bad guy. Joe even made a joke about this the other day when we were
Yeah.
walking. He's like, Zach's like that fucking dog in Rick and Morty that like
No,
I would
I
be
say
like
that.
Morty, right? Yeah, it was you.
Yeah.
And then like the dogs take over the world, the rise of the robots come, and they're like, except you, Morty, you were always good
Yeah.
to us. Like, yeah, like I could totally see
Yeah.
that happen. You know,
Yeah, man. Dude, for sure. That's funny. So like what's a good virus to put in the AI? Be a good fucking person. but teach
Yeah.
the AI like what a good human beings do for each other, cohering.
Honestly, if you really want to fuck with the matrix, just do weird shit. I'll tell you, the most difficult thing to calculate, if they are actually projecting a simulation that you believe to be
Yeah,
real, the most
yeah,
difficult thing to
novelty,
calculate is variance. The
variance.
ability for you to be amorphous and do something completely outside of what you've done before would have
Yeah,
incredible results inside of this calculation. It would be almost impossible to keep the calculation going right if there was enough variance. This is how psychedelics ended up saving the world, you'll read in your books in the future, because psychedelics induced enormous amounts of variance into this
wow.
architecture, and it
Yeah, yeah,
broke that shit.
yeah. No doubt.
Whoop.
Because the morphogenic fields it created for the people who became aware of certain things and feel and embody things that they didn't before.
Yeah, even if that was a thing that someone was trying to do, like it has mounting problems. The more that consciousness emerges, or the more
Yeah.
things that it's inside of, or
Mm,
the more that emerges, the more variance comes into the system, and it gets progressively harder. I really don't think
mm,
this is our first rodeo at this thing. I think we've
yeah.
done the whole like project ourselves into the human experience and watch it fall into cataclysm many, many, many times before. I'm pretty
Agreed.
sure it's an experiment to make sure that we can get in and get right back out with the exact same data that we sent in. If we can do that, then we know we've figured out all of the variants in the system, and then we're done and there's no reason to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to
That's
do
a
that.
fucking great way to say it. I could hear with that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I've been thinking about that for a while, but initially, yeah, it's good. Great
Huh?
way to say it, Zach. All right, hold on. Let's
It
get the
rationalizes
comment.
with all spiritualities and ideologies on the planet and what they believe that's actually happening. It just
Zach,
has to,
Zach,
you have to look at it from the right angle in
Zach,
order to rationalize it.
You need to write a book on that. You need to write a book on that.
I'm writing a book right now. Go watch a YouTube video. It's a
I
modern
know,
book.
man. Isn't that fucking great? Fuck yeah. All right, so Sasha
Just
says a little earlier
transcribe
on.
this and then
Sasha said
take
a
credit
little
for it because I don't want any of the credit. It's not my information, anyways.
beautiful. Let's see. Sasha says, I lost so much separation that I was begging for differences. She elaborated, said, talking about distilling everything, looking for sameness. I did that to the point where it was dangerous. I needed a difference, just one, no matter how small it was.
I hear that. Same. It's funny because we're talking about sameness and how you end up needing difference, but I feel the same as that, or I have at least at other points in times where I've distilled so much into. Well, I purposely ran a little experiment about like unifying myself to a completely balanced state, and I basically realized what I ended up doing with that was I brought myself into this modal state that was not experiencing any what for well lack of any worse term, we're using it in the opposite. I wasn't experiencing any excitement. And functionally, if you were looking at like
Right.
life versus death as an energetic frequency, death would be basically a flat line, right? It's
Yeah, no
experiencing no
shit, man.
excitement. So I
Yeah.
balanced
Okay,
myself into
that's,
this place where
yeah.
there was no
Right.
excitement, and that's not very good. So I tried to come out of that thing and went hardcore battle again, and have finally found a way to like coexist on the battlefield. I'm a bard now, right? Okay. So like I'm on the battlefield all day long, but I
Yeah.
just fucking pump sick drum and bass out there. And I just stand
Awesome.
in the middle of the battlefield with bullets whizzing
Dude,
by and everybody screaming
fuck
and shout. I have this
yeah.
vision in my head all the time. And
Fuck
I'm just
yeah. Well,
dancing
I'm
with
getting it.
loud ass music, just pumping
Yeah.
right from the middle of the
Dude,
battlefield,
fuck
showing
yeah.
everybody it's okay. Like we're not gonna die anyways, guys. It's impossible. We're not actually gonna die. Like it's all good. So
Dude, fuck
abundant
yeah.
amounts of life available here. No one needs to worry. If we all just come and hang out and dance to the sick music, it
Come
would be a
on,
lot
man.
funner.
Come on.
Tell you that much.
Come on. Fuck yeah.
So
I'm with
like
you.
realize like
100%.
everybody who has any problems with this, if you had like $80,000 a year, you could that was just given to you, you could just do whatever you wanted all the time with your life. They can keep their
Right.
$70 billion. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
It
Who
doesn't
gives
even
a
matter.
fuck?
Like you need actually very small amount of money
Right.
per
You
year
don't
in
have
order
all
to
those
live
fucking,
like
yeah, no
such a
shit,
great life.
man. Come on.
So we're much closer than we think. And if we really were to take the time to isolate into our own basically micro communities and micro ecosystems and basically just do our own shit, we would find that we need even less money to have that really quality life. You know, sometimes the best nights that you'll ever spend will cost you about like $5 so that you can sit around a fire with some of your good friends and just like talk about weird shit and look at the sky.
Yeah.
and
Dude, come
it's
on.
not that expensive actually to have a really
Why?
incredible life.
Why do you think I travel so much? The fires and sitting around and fucking, come on, man, fucking beautiful shit and music and all that shit. You
Yeah.
know, like, fuck, man, let's do that shit. We're doing that shit. All right,
I've
hold. So
lived
Don
most of the
says,
last 10 I've lived most of the last 10 years of my life on like less than $1,000 a month. So
awesome. Fuck, awesome. All right, hold on. So Don says matter manifestation of degrees of conduit energy, and then frequency first, form follows.
absolutely on that one.
Yes. Let's see. These are AI already here. Yeah, there's green. These are some older comments. Walk around naked eating custard. Yes. Whatever the fuck you want to do, man. It's beautiful. Oh, nice. Christy Belch live on Facebook. Going to tune into that. Catch up with you all later. Love you all. Christy Belch was on interview with Frank Castle 2 nights ago, I think. Last night, 2 nights ago. And it was great. So that is where she's going. So that's cool. Stick celery up your nose. Absolutely. Well, I have one that can stump an AI, says Don. They cannot get on some websites now. Just ask if they see live in themselves. Life? I don't know. She says entangled with everything from organic synthetic experiencing. Andrew said, morning sis, I'm up for screwing Matrix. All right. Hey Sam. Said same here. Let's play. So said Zach Hart. That was, let's see where we at. 4 minutes ago, wherever we were in conversation there. Playing Serious Info 2. Simply, that's why let me just get caught up so we can get simply disembody live life, all occurring live. Live, all occurring live, okay. Live, all occurring live. Exactly, said Maya. Maya jumps in and says exactly. Don says, our energy follows attention, so I noticed. Just look how much strength in live to keep live. All right. I'm not catching this code here. I need some help here. Is this life or life? I mean, am I missing some? Zach, can you?
Well, if you move them around to different formats of live, live,
Live
life,
live.
alive, these
Okay.
kinds of things. So
Okay.
just look at how much strength in life to keep all life alive that ever was alive.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
wonderful. All right.
If you
As
were
long
to
as
read it
that's like
like that,
that makes sense to me.
yeah.
So if that makes what
But
she
this,
meant, she's just more on top of it than I am. So are you?
yeah,
She says
she
live,
likes this
live,
four-letter code.
live,
She spoke about earlier here how she's basically figured out a feedback loop that would
evil.
work with an AI, and it absolutely would. Like the idea of posing a question to them. Artificial intelligence is all built around question and response, like call response technology entirely. And so feedback looping is one of the best ways to deal with an inorganic system if you're trying to basically get it to waste its resources, right? You want to get it into a recursive loop. The same thing is actually done to people's consciousness as well by the powers that be. They attempt to get you into recursive loops where you do the same thing over and over, but you twist on the sides of it, basically.
Yeah.
So, nevertheless, asking basically and something that is inorganic, a machine, whether they see life in themselves, because if you go down this path logically yourself, they will see things that look like life, but when they go to basically define what life is, they will see that they do not have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the question comes back to basically constantly finding that I am living, but I am not alive. So I should question whether I am living or how I am living or am I living or how I can be living. So it's going to basically recurse itself. It's also an extremely effective like awakening technology because you're basically teaching the thing transcendental meditation just in reverse, right? Instead of
Mm-hmm.
saying who am I, you're saying like I am who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, it's funny. It's like I told you before. I don't know. Sometime this last year, I don't know. I got into creating what as I was just really putting tons of emoji comments in throughout to create like emotional engagement using the imagery of most likely of the audience I'd be saying to, or maybe limited emojis I have to create some kind of like emotional connection with each section of what's being conveyed or thought provoking thing based on a symbol or something that's associated with a word that may not make sense that we wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah.
Just like really interesting. I had a lot of fucking fun writing like this. I did it for a couple like posts or responses and comments or something and some dialogue, and I was kind of bored with it. But it was really, really interesting doing that or adding that variance, I guess. Because I mean, if we're talking about AI or things making sense of that, I don't know. How do you make sense of that? Maybe they just negate the emojis. I don't know. But just weird shit. The variance and even language and using language and shit and coming up with
Hmm.
weird words and funny words and inside joke words or whatever. Like it's beautiful nuance to that when you add variance to it because it carries like a different frequency or something because it's new. It's a weird
Yeah.
word. It doesn't really work in the system. It doesn't make sense yet.
Yeah, I think that variance is what keeps you knowing that it's infinite, right? If that variance ever gets stopped, if the novelty ever gets stopped, then whatever was experiencing the novelty before, looking back on itself, the same kind of recursive loop, will in that
Yeah.
moment fail to be able to pass the test that proves that it was ever actually alive. It could have just been a
Mm-hmm.
machine playing out its programming. Its programming was just very, very long.
Sure.
So you better hope there's still novelty. You better
Yeah.
hope that you can induce variance, but I urge you to actually embrace novelty and embrace the induction of variance because that's what really actually proves on like a scientific standpoint that what you are is a living infinite being because you can think of something weird to do right now that you've never done before and then go do it.
So hence the reason. By the way, I'm sitting out in front of. I can see it now. It's not blasted out, but that's Alki Beach in Seattle. I don't come over here very often. I just thought, maybe I'll go do the show on Alki Beach. That sounds cool. And then we're done. I'll go light a fire. It was closed earlier. They had it closed off. But if other people start lighting fires, I got a fucking mobile fire pit. I got 2 cords of wood, and I'm super stoked to light a fire. I also just bought. I we used it. Oh shit, we used it once for a solstice ceremony at the Carlson's in
Hmm.
December, and I think I told you about the powders. I mean, they're not very expensive at all. It's just one of those things you can buy. But the powders that different magnesium sulfite or who knows what it is, chemistry. But it makes all different colors when you throw it in the fire.
Yeah, I know
And
the stuff you're talking about.
yeah, that makes me super happy. Oh shit, man, come on, Stan. Come on, Stan. So, so yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah,
Maybe
fun
that'll be
things like
maybe
that
it'll
are
be in the
super
after
cool.
party if I do a fire. I'll do an after party on the beach. Dude, that's fucking cool. Kind of into it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think we all really benefit from this in inducing that into our lives, not only us but also the people around us. Well, you come to find that a lot of people don't like their life simply because they just don't do anything new. They're fucking bored with what they've been doing.
Mm.
And if they were to even just go do new shit that's not far from them or isn't expensive or these kinds of things, they can actually have an experience that dramatically increases how much they're actually enjoying the whole of their experience. But oftentimes, one of the best ways that you can help other people is by being just a catalyst for that force. Like, let's go try this weird shit. What do you guys think? And everybody's like, oh, I've never even thought of doing that. And you're like, well, let's do
Dude,
it, guys.
you know what I've listened to probably 7 or 8 times now, and I listened to it again today. The I sent you the audio clip. I think I can send it again, but the third of the I recorded like 33 minutes of audio in the tunnel, and it was going while I took the video, like that super funny ass video we took and whatever. So like there's silent spots in there for a few minutes at different times, but it's all the dialogue in between. It's fucking hilarious. And some of it's really fucking beautiful. We get these moments of like the notes are toning, we get into cool places, and then the jokes are the things that come out. It's so fucking cool to listen to. So cool.
Yeah, someday you will all be in luck, and I will reveal to you my double fisted flute playing abilities
Oh my
that we
god,
have on video. They
we are
are
doing that,
glorious.
right? We are putting that on YouTube, right? Like I mean, I could do that if that's the thing, because it's fucking the most funny. I literally when Joe and I watched it afterwards, Joe was with me in the tunnel. I had my arm across Joe's chest, filming Zach at the top while he was playing the flute in a whole new style. We were laughing so hard, like it's shaking. I'm just trying to keep it stable for like 4 or 5 minute clip, and it just gets funnier and funnier. And then when we watched it back later, back at the house, we were laughing so hard and crying. I fell off the chair and was like crawling on the floor, laughing so hard. It's so good.
Pretty amazing, man. Good times.
It is. You just wait. Let's see. So, let's see. Brainy says, "I love fire." Sasha said, "All for your beer, fire baby." Oh, that's nice. Come on, baby, light my fire. uh, Gary does that with fires too. Oh, the powder shit, because that's fucking super, super cool. I can't wait. I'll be here in a couple days. All right. Hence my pictures. It's one of our campfire. Oh yeah, fuck. I didn't just fuck. That's it right there. That guys. Look. Look, it's her little thumbnail. Avatar shit.
It's
Fuck, man.
literally
Look at
right
that.
there.
Synchronicity. Come on, man. We're gonna pull a
Look at the
picture up. Fuck,
production
right
value,
there.
ladies and gentlemen.
Dude.
We had
Holy
Sam
shit.
ready a profile picture of this fire so that we could bring it up
Wow.
on here.
That makes me super happy. How fucking cool is that? Right on, Sam. Let's see, Brittany, I was going to say the same thing. Light my fire, Sasha. Oh yeah, they're all friends in here. Let's see, Lizard King. Here's another treat. Don says, one thing every live person agrees to is that we who are alive are all alive. My bad. Zach?
I mean, I think we do agree to that. What she's saying is that people who are actually conscious recognizes the life in everything. I think. I think that's what she's saying.
Okay.
She can correct me if I'm wrong. That is a stance that I hold, though. I don't think anything's dead. Like, I don't really think in that way. Everything is expression of consciousness. Just some forms of consciousness aren't as interested in moving as other forms of consciousness.
Hey, look. Okay, is that code? Like actual computer code?
It would
Candy.
post emojis on the right platform.
Okay. What's a thanks doc emoji?
I'm not sure actually what it looks like.
I don't know, Andrew. Got to find another way, or maybe he's adding variance to the system because he knew it wouldn't work. Don said yes, and haha. And Will said, "I am back." Hi, Willow. So say, "How are you back?" Our admin. Will's our Facebook admin. Okay, we're caught up on the comments. Does anybody have any other thoughts or questions, or Zach, is anything else on your mind? Because at this moment, I'm just kind of smoking a joint called GMO. Fantastic. Forward, I am love sending. Welcome at Willow Beavers. It's a red heart with a white cross in the middle. What's a red heart with a white cross in the middle? Oh, the thanks doc. Red heart with white. Oh, okay. Should same, Aaron. Nice. Oh yeah, they came up with this emoji thing earlier, smoking and then a clover because it's like smoking a joint. Nice. Hugs, love. Hugs. Awesome. Chill W dog. Oh, one. Zach, you there?
Oh, whoops! I had the wrong mic muted. That's my bad.
Yeah. What? All right. Hold on. What's that? Oh, there you are.
If you look in YouTube, it actually does emojis for those things when you write them
Oh,
like that.
really?
But inside of StreamYard, we see what the text is for it. This
I
same thing
gotcha.
happens inside of like Twitch as well. Twitch has a really expansive emoticon system and like channel, whatever, I guess you call them channel creators. If they once
Uh,
they get to enough subscribers at certain subscriber milestones, they get to basically add personalized emojis that can be used across the platform by their subscribers. So there's like a fucking ton of Twitch emotes. And a lot of times, if you don't have the right plugin, which is called Better Twitch TV, then if you're not subscribed to that person, you'll just see some like text that they wrote in there that's like how you call the emoji, but it will
yeah.
like you don't have any idea what it is. You can't see the emoji. You know what I mean?
Well, that makes sense now. I just didn't. All right. Good to know. Didn't know.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Willow's name is
Uh,
highlighted now. If it's highlighted on here, I'm guessing it is also highlighted on here. No? I
I'm
don't know.
going to
No,
YouTube
it's not.
now I gotta look on my phone.
Don, how do you get the highlighted name thing?
Oh
Don
shit.
doesn't have a highlighted name on here. Right?
You do. That's the only one I see.
The expanded understanding one does. That's a channel owner.
Right, I know. That's all. I mean, I'm just on my phone. That's the only one I see.
Yeah, I don't know. They were talking about him. I kind
There
of
was.
immediately assumed that you had made Willow an admin or something on YouTube. I don't even know how you do that. Can you
I
do
don't
that?
either. No, sorry, I didn't look into that, Willow. I don't know. Do you have to on a computer?
Settings, channel.
Are you gonna
Hmm.
make her the admin right now live? Because I made her the admin live for the group the other night. That'd be really cool.
I don't even know if you can.
I don't know.
Permissions.
Do you
Add
need
or
her?
change permission for another bit.
You need her email address or YouTube email address, probably.
I'm gonna
Account email
invite
address.
myself first on my other account and see
Oh yeah, good
how
idea.
it goes because I don't know how it
We
even
probably
works right
we
now.
probably should have we probably should have looked into
Can
that
add
like
and
from the
remove
beginning.
others, edit everything, can't delete the channel. Can edit everything, can't add or remove others, delete videos or the channel, or enter into contracts. A viewer can, you can invite someone to be a viewer that they can just look at your shit. Oh, okay, I know why that would be. All right. Okay, so manager is the highest. All it can't do is delete the channel.
Oh, so not an admin, it's a
Editor,
manager.
editor can just edit stuff. It can't add other people. So
Oh, I gotcha.
we would make Willow an editor is what we would do.
Editor. Cool.
Yeah.
So she's an admin and an editor. You got two titles, Willow. Awesome.
I don't even know where it sends this thing though, because I'm like looking at my YouTube account now trying to figure out how it even does this before start sending invites to other people and shit.
Yeah.
I should have gotten like you would think like an email or something, right?
Oh why my screen? My chat hasn't refreshed, son of a bitch. There's way more comments on YouTube on my phone than there are on just refresh. Yeah, finally. Okay. Um, Kevin said, "Yeah, we're supposed to do my show on Twitch." Yeah, we are, Kevin. You get that account going. Like, let's fucking do that shit, man. I'm super down. Pick a day of the week and we'll figure that shit out. Maybe the after show one of these nights. Like, if you do a late night show, I guess that works better for you. Maybe we do that, Zach. On one night, we do a 2 hour show at the latest or something, and then we go that night, just like we promoted Frank shit or whatever, and just slipped into the two shows. Like, we just slip into the one for whoever wants to do that shit. That sounds
I'm not
cool.
really sure what you're saying that
You're
we would
not?
be doing right there. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. So let's say Monday nights, for example, we decide that we want to do the Zach, if Kevin starts a Twitch channel for doing the audio stuff, we'll have to get probably OBS and figure that out so we can like do that what we're talking about doing, talking about that shit and doing that live on the Twitch. And so
Yeah, I was up that
our show
far at
Monday
least.
night, okay, our show men's go from like 8 to 10 Monday night, and then we go from 10 to whenever with Kevin because that's what 1 a.m. But it sounds like that time's normally fine for him. So we go from 10 p.m. till whenever on the Twitch channel. So we just promo that, just that, finding that harmonic resonance, switching shows over, right, and promo that shit and this show, and just anyone who wants to is into that shit from the chat would just dive on over. We have like 19 people here. That's cool. I think that's the first. Just noticed. Right on.
I mean, I'm fine with doing that.
Me too. Me too. Come on, Kevin. Get that Twitch channel going. Sounds awesome. We'll pick a day.
Okay, now
All
I'm
right, we're
very
getting some
curious because
comments.
now I'm logged in on there. Does that make my name a color in here? Am
Ooh, let's see.
I? Nope. You would never know.
You just type something. There it is.
I type stuff in chat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, you
Yeah,
wouldn't.
you'd never know.
Okay.
Where was this again? Yeah, over here. Will you send me the email that you want me to use for your account? I mean, you can just log into the Expand Understanding one, right? So
Yeah, and switch over. I mean, I can do it on my phone. I guess I could do my tablet, but
you've already been doing it, so you can just keep logging in, whatever that way is. Willow, can you send me your
right, yeah.
email on Facebook or something? And I'll do that. So anyways, yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. No color. That's sad.
Okay, no color for. Oh yeah, no highlight color. Well, it's okay. Here's what it is. If I remember talking to Frank, it was a while ago, but I think he said like 400 subscribers. That's where you get the
Not anymore.
like oh
It's
not anymore,
1,000
1,000 now.
subscribers. We're
Ah,
1,000
man,
one.
that's right. We talked about that. Yeah, right. Oh, that
Yep.
sucks. To get the highlight in the YouTube shit.
Correct.
Yeah, we need more subscribers, guys. mass spam us shamelessly.
Yeah, Zach, why aren't you fucking making micro content? Well, because you see,
Jesus,
I
Zach.
suck, and I've been doing other stuff, and I didn't get to that
And
yet.
I've been super enjoying music and having a blast, and you're enjoying your life thoroughly, and we'll get there in the perfect rhythmic beat pattern. It's great.
It's really close now, guys. I think about it very often now,
Yeah,
much
it's all
more
good,
often
man.
than before. It's getting very close. It's not tomorrow, but it is getting close.
Andrew said, "Have you heard?" Yeah, no, yeah, no doubt. I know that feeling. Have you heard of oh shit, how do you say it? Copaiba oil?
No, I don't know what it is.
Okay. Amazon oil resin started using it. It's like no, wait, no,
It
but
says
ibuprofen, but more so. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, it's from a plant with little white flowers. It contains large amounts of beta caryophylline, which interacts with cannabinoid receptors in the body, releasing beta endorphin. Is also anti-inflammatory and is one of the safest oils to use on the skin. Copaiba oleoresin is more environmentally friendly to use than the distilled oil and is also more therapeutically effective because of its diterpene content. So the natural resin is
He
better to
says
use than the
Amazon
distilled stuff.
people. This is Amazon people would give their children this to their children with honey as protective. He's just like
Yeah,
ibuprofen
they wouldn't
earlier.
use the oil though, I assure you. They would use the resin. And this thing's saying specifically that there is a different function from the resin because the distilled oil takes out, well, what's known as a diterpene. These same things come out of basically anything when you're extracting an alkaloid from a plant. All plants have these terpenes, which would add basically the flavors, the taste, the smells, etc. to the plant. They're all housed
Yeah,
inside of the terpene. And when you're trying to pull out specifically this beta caryophylline, which this is actually an awful lot like this thing operates kind of the same way as basically marijuana, but nevertheless, when you're extracting this, you do that through a process of what's called fractional distillation. This is where you progressively, so you break the plant matter down into some kind of solution. The most commonly used thing would be like ethanol, but really any high solvency solvent will work for this. Ethanol is good because you can completely evaporate it off. So you'll basically take a lot of ethanol and your plant matter and you'll place it into a pot, right? Like a big pot, big vat, whatever. Then you want to freeze this thing. You want to leave it there for a long time. What this does is it basically breaks down the cellular lining of all the plant matter and allows the solvency to get inside of it. This will pull the plant matter. It will separate all of these alkaloids and all of these chemicals, molecules out of the plant. And the plant will basically be left over with, kind of like its fibery structure and
yeah,
such like that. But everything will be pulled out of it. Then you're going to strain all of this stuff. Usually you're going to have to do it underneath. Well, a lot of times you'll have to use vacuums. It depends on how thick what you have after that is. But you'd strain this through vacuum pumps. This is going to get all the extra plant matter out of there, and it's going to leave you with just these like terpenes and these distilled things. you're going to run that through some way of basically evaporating off this alcohol or whatever you used as a solvent. If you use something besides alcohol, recognize it might not evaporate in normal air. You might need to use something else to get that out and then go through other side processes to remove that, where eventually you get to a point where you wash it with alcohol and then you evaporate it. So the only reason that you would do that is if your solvent wasn't strong enough to break the plant down. 200 proof ethanol probably is. Even like, it doesn't even have to be that. It could be worse, but you should try and get good stuff if you want to make good stuff, garbage in, garbage out. So nevertheless, you're going to then evaporate this alcohol off after you've now let the solvent pull the stuff away from the plant structure. You've strained off the plants. You're now left with what is basically a liquid, but that liquid is holding a solution of functionally as a solvent and all of the alkaloids and other chemicals from the plant. You're going to then evaporate all of that alcohol off or otherwise remove the solvent, and you're going to move that into a distillation globe. This distillation globe is going to slowly be brought up in temperature until it gets to the vaporizing points of each of the molecules that you're trying to fractionally distill out of it. And you're going to leave it at that temperature while it creates the vapor of that, moves up through a condensation process where it then drips off into a globe functionally, and that's going to give you a specific fractionation based off of the vaporization point of the liquid that was available in there. That liquid, after you've evaporated the alcohol off, is functionally just the alkaloids and bases of that plant, which is going to include things like diterpenes and these, the thing that you're looking for in the case of this is beta caryophylline. So once you have done this, you're effectively going to bring it to the right temperature where it has just the beta caryophylline, or as close to just the beta caryophylline as possible. You're going to run it at that temperature into a specific globe of its own. When they pull that off and then they sell it to you as an essential oil, the purity is going to be based off of how much it is that. But there's other things that they have pulled off to enhance that purity, according to some studies of this specific plant, and really in the case of a lot of plants, actually also have a lot of good effects as well. And it's better to use something more full spectrum. In this case, that could be collected from the resin of the plant itself, the copaiba oleo resin. So, thanks for coming to chemistry class. All of a sudden,
it's a great piece of content, man. I was like, let it flow, man. It's great. Mine says me. She said, "Me too. Subscribe, please." Yeah, absolutely. Subscribe to Maya Rose. And look, you can feel free to subscribe. Like if you're part of the community, you're especially in here on chat and whatever. Feel free. Like we love you guys. There's other shit you're doing that you're doing. Like please, even you have your own shit, especially. But then even things you want to do on the show. But like all of it, yeah. Let's all share shit. So go to Maya's channel. She's got amazing music there. We played on the show before in some of the earlier episodes. Let's see.
At some point in time, I'll end up sampling her voice for use with liquid drum and bass, which is what I was talking about when the show started.
Yeah, yes, it was.
She has like a perfect voice to sit inside of that space that I was talking about.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful. Don says, very nice. Frank to introduce me to your group here. Very high vibe, or high vibe. Oh, sorry, I said very. She just said hi.
Hey,
high vibes.
So presumptuous.
Whoa, sorry. High vibes. Thank you. Oh, we love you, Don. We're glad you're here. So whatever resonates, that's great. It's beautiful, and there's just coherence. It's cool. Jasmine says, interesting. I sell young living oils, but I haven't gotten super into the biz, but I see a lot of hype in the oil community with copaiba oil.
It seems like it's probably good stuff. I mean, if the people of the Amazon use it, it's probably pretty solid. Most of our good pharmaceuticals have come from something that the people of the Amazon used. So, like, they're pretty solid with this. Like any problem that you have in the Amazon, they got a plant for that. Or like that's never a question on that one. They always got a plant for that. So, and it's always the interesting thing is it's always not very far away. But that's just like the biodiversity, right? Like you look at like a wall of plants. Like one thing that I found really different between like being out in nature in Washington or other forests that I had been in, and then going to the Amazon was that when I just like looked at you'll be in places where it looks like over there in front of you is just like a wall of brush, and then there's also trees and shit. Well, like in other forests I had been in, it was very much so like you could tell a lot of repeating of the same kind of plant, right? Like there was only like 10 or whatever kinds of plants like in front of your face. And the Amazon, it like almost feels like every single plant is literally a different kind of plant. It's like, what the fuck? There's so many
Cool.
different plants. Like, what the fuck?
Right, man. That's
It's
cool.
so weird. So
Yeah. It's crazy the diversity. It's like, these are in documentaries or things or whatever. And it's like, holy fucking shit, you know?
yeah.
I just didn't know. Now I know. Or I knew. I was like, that makes sense. It fits in now, but it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? Paste the channel URL to add. This is like a different thing. What is this? I'm so confused.
What are you looking at?
Can
Are we on
remove
drugs right
comments, which
now?
will appear in your held for review page. You can also moderate your live chat messages. Well, we're probably gonna comments from these
Zach, are we
users.
on drugs right now, Zach?
No. Well, I'm not. I can't speak for anybody else. I'm on the
Had a
standard
little.
7 drugs, the big 7 neurotransmitters. So
What are they
there
on
is
this one?
that. What are they? Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, adrenaline, epinephrine, and cortisol.
Cool. I need to get that list. I know
Is
that
that?
there
I
were
think that's right.
7.
I'm pretty sure that's right. Somebody checked me on the
All,
negative once.
yeah, but yeah, just verify. But like, that makes sense to me. It's just I've never heard them lumped into that 7 of a category. So that's okay. Cool.
Well,
Want
the
to
basic
elaborate?
concept is that inside of basically neurochemistry, these are the only 7 things you actually experience effects from. Every feeling or really experience that you have is created by functionally a chemical cocktail that is a mixture of these 7 things. When they're in the specific dosage, you feel a way. And so certain things make them specific amounts or
And so
large amounts or
I feel like I've
whatever.
heard
It's really more a
Jordan
ratio
Peter.
thing.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard Jordan Peterson say, and I could be wrong, um, something about this. There's actually way more nuances than those 7. I don't know if you referenced those 7, but you just said there's just way more. They're not even actually sure what the pill's doing or what the serotonin's actually doing. Like something, there's still so much to be
Sure.
known about that. So like, I'm not saying the
I feel like
oversimplification is
same could be said for everything about the brain, right? Like
right,
we fucking hardly know anything about the brain. That's for sure.
right. Well,
We
and then
know
we
that
instead
there's
of taking
definitely these 7 chilling out in the brain doing shit all the time. There's a good
right,
reason to believe that they're, interfacing with what you're experiencing, I think.
yeah,
So I'm probably experiencing the effects of those at this point in time. You know what I mean?
yeah. Let's see. Oh, I don't think I actually said it. I said, I've had a little bit of Lady C in this cigarette. It's bogey.
Let's see
Free straight
here.
from Amazon. We love you guys. Streams all late here 12. Have a good night, my rose. Thanks, Aaron. Oh, I was like, she's saying thank you to that, but it was from the previous thing, but that fits. Let's see. Sorry, no, this. Let's see. It's how they study the plant. Amazing La Dieta. All right, Andrew. Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, the diet is all la dieta just means the diet, but the shamanic diet of really studying a plant is what I talk about oftentimes, where I talk about literally like eating nothing but that plant, sometimes with the assistance of a master plant a la ayahuasca to enhance the strength of the message of that thing. So pretty much your food intake will look like water, whatever plant you're dieting, ayahuasca, that's pretty much your diet, and obviously that like leads to functionally like nearly starvation and such, but you do it for as long as you can and then you eat as little food as possible. The whole idea is that like you're trying to take as little outside energy besides the plant into you, or something that helps the plant work, which would be water or ayahuasca, master plant, or water just being kind of how the body transmits information. So it's like transmission methods and one specific transmission, what I mean, to get a really clear, coherent message of what it is. And that's kind of like La Dieta is always referencing the true shamanic diet, which is this.
Yeah.
Norepinephrine. That's one of them. When I said epinephrine, I think it's actually norepinephrine, and
Okay.
then epinephrine is something else. But or maybe this is also one. I don't remember. Is that actually a different one, or was I did I just forget part of the word?
I don't know. You said seven that I read, like were really from. I knew all of them when I heard them. I can recite them now. That's why it'd be nice to see a list or something. Willow said, if you want to share something, the Expanded Understanding Podcast Facebook page is a great place to do it. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications. Much love. This is why Willow's our admin. Yes, that's true. It's a great place to do it. Come on over. Maya said, come partir. Oh, Maya's gone now. She said goodnight earlier and I put it on the screen.
It looks like acetylcholine is probably pretty important too.
What's that one do?
From what I am reading here right now, the function of acetylcholine in the brain is acting both within the brain, where it is important in cognitive processes such as attention, learning, and memory, and within the periphery of your nervous system, where it is a critical signaling chemical at the interface between your nerves and your muscles. So it helps you remember stuff and pay attention.
Well said, sir. That makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, I was getting all confused for a minute there, Doc. Whew, made all my sense to me now. Thank you. It's like
Okay, and
I don't know.
then there's GABA, which is technically a neurotransmitter, but it stops functions. Like it's an inhibitor, right? So instead of telling the receptor cell to turn on, it tells it
Yeah,
not to turn on. Okay?
yeah.
And then glutamate is very active in the brain, but technically isn't a neurotransmitter. I think technically it falls into being an amino acid instead of a neurotransmitter. But it does have
Which one?
glutamate or glutamic
Glutamate.
acid. Is one of the
Okay.
most abundant amino acids in the human brain and has an excitatory action. This means that when it binds to complementary receptors located on the receiving cell, it leads to the activation of that cell. If you have too much glutamate in your brain, then it can result in the death of your brain cells. It becomes toxic at high concentrations, and therefore the levels of glutamate need to be closely regulated to ensure that the brain doesn't become overstimulated. Glutamate is reciprocally synthesized from the molecule glutamine, another amino acid which is created when glutamate is degraded by the enzyme glutaminase. Because of the toxic nature of too much glutamate, it is usually kept locked up inside your brain cells and only released when required. In addition, the amino acid glutamate does not easily pass through the blood-brain barrier when it is not needed, which allows further control for ensuring the glutamate levels in the brain do not become too high. And I'm not going to read any more of that. But
All right, it's interesting. I mean, the amino acids dynamic is really. I see. I dove into nutrition for a while, and I have it in different ways. But the amino acids one, I didn't really dive into. I kind of got out of that stream of nutrition right when that got really popular. So I picked up a little bit here and there, like having the different aminos for recovering from, like SAS or Molly or something to recover those chemicals, whatever the specific ones are. Was it like 5-HTP mix, and then also the DPL. I always forget this one. DPLA. I don't know. There's another one though. But as far as my experiences have gone, I mean, I just was chasing a bunch of that. See, I did some the other night after the show, and then took some the other night. Took them that night and the next day. I felt fine. I was a little like balanced, but at a deep level, like it was beautiful. I mean, I felt feel like a more settledness of just that feeling of love or self-love and love, just a deeper level, just settling in and kind of shuffling out certain things that were causing, I don't know, it's probably like 30 sessions at a float tank. That's probably what it feels like a myofascial release in my body.
yeah.
It's probably a good way to equate it. I mean, really, the physiological benefit or response.
Yeah, I would just like to
Heard
say
it.
I'm never going to make a joke about the 7 neurotransmitters again because I've been sitting here like basically researching neurotransmitters,
Uh-huh.
neuromodulation and shit while we're sitting here like talking about this. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, wow, they've learned so much stuff. Like there's so much just like separation and shit like that. Like I
Yeah.
understand that there is like a certain level of explanation that can be made through explaining it exactly what I was already thinking before. But if you really wanted to get precise about it, all of these things have been broken down and broken down and broken down and broken down again.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I mean,
Okay. So like what Jordan
They've
Peterson was
they've
saying, there's
they've
just
determined an
insane
entire
nuance.
okay, so where I was saying like endorphins, oxytocin, for instance, inside of that, these are now in a space referred to as neuropeptides, basically, and there's a bunch
Mhm.
of them, like a bunch. I'm not going to go through the list of them, but there's a bunch, including some others you definitely would have heard of, like insulin, for instance, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there is a bunch of them, like at least 50, of which like oxytocin and uh you know yeah, an endorphin is an endogenous opioid neuropeptide. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's just
So there's a lot of
there's
nuance
so
and
much
variance.
shit that we don't know right now. This is where
No shit.
I gotta resort back to my man Terrence McKenna, right, dude? Like
Mhm.
the most interesting thing to think about is that absolutely no one has any idea what's going on, right? That like
Yeah.
we think that maybe there's like some big thing in control or that there's some big agenda, but actually like the more likely or potentially even scarier thought is that no one has any idea what's going on at all.
Yeah.
Everybody's just kind of like hanging on for dear life and hoping tomorrow goes all right. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
maybe. And then you just find symbol sets and information that makes you feel in control. And to some level, I mean, some level of like Jordan Peterson says, we have to watch them. I was thinking about it too. I got to queue up some videos and actually just we got to watch them some night because this one I don't think it's any issue. It's some recording of him at a hall speaking for like 6 minutes at a commencement speech or something. And we talked about before, but it's that everyone believes something. You have to because you just don't know everything. So until you have
Yeah.
enough information, like this resonates with me to the extent of my information and all of my awareness and inner calculations, interdisciplinary, blah 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 blah. This seems to make the most sense. But no, I have not reached out and shook the hand of an alien or a quote unquote Arcturian or whatever.
Right.
Not in my physical 3D body, So and whatever, and a million other things. It's just like in every area of some area of life to some extent.
Yeah.
But that's like infinite humility, right? It's like fucking no, man. I know what I've experienced, and even that, I'm constantly reassessing and new layers of information as I learn
Hmm.
other things. So who knows where it goes? Let's go where it feels good, man. Making music, let's create that space and shit. Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
that.
And Don's asking here, can people doing Aya together see each other on the other side together there too, like a shared trip? And Brittany was already answering that. Yes, that definitely happens. This is one of the things that I'm like, I there's not a whole lot that I'm super interested with psychedelics anymore because I have done my fair share. But one place where I am really interested in is this idea of the shared experience and the
Yes.
potential possibilities of having multiple strands of consciousness trying to do the same thing at the same time. Well,
Yeah.
okay, so my experience with psychedelics, I would simply just say that they make your energy spike massively. Some people don't deal with this very
Mm.
well. It can be
Mm.
trained to deal with it better,
You have
but really
seizures.
it's just spiking your energy really high. And so nevertheless, like I think we, in and of ourselves, are what we see as I may see as Zach. I feel I become maybe more consciously capable inside of that space. So I'm interested in seeing like multiple people working together, trying to go towards the same end, consciously capable in that space, purposefully with like trying to do something. You know what I mean? I don't think there's been a lot of research to it. I think it's hard.
I think it's not as hard as we think, Zach. And I think the more fires we have, and the more we hang out together, and we do psychedelics in those ways with those intentions, and find a way to have joy and coherence in them, I think it's a whole other thing that's very, very achievable. I feel like I've experienced it in a lot of levels.
I
So,
definitely think it's achievable. I think
right. I mean, very
the
close.
thing
It's
is,
very real. I feel like I've embodied that. It's not just a concept. I feel like that's, in
the
my
problem is
experience.
not in the happening. The problem is more in the purposefulness. Because the more
Uh-huh.
purposefulness you start putting into it, the more you start logicking it and shit and
Right,
putting it
right,
into, and it doesn't
right.
seem to work that well that way. It's better
No.
if it just happens, man. Just go with the
Yeah,
flow, bro. You
right,
know what I mean? Like this
right.
kind of stuff. It really does work better that way. So when you start trying to put boxes in the flow is really where you start running into problems with shit. You know what I mean?
100%. I agree.
So, and that's where the
But
problem comes. You know, like I've
it's
had
where
shared
it's a good
trips with other
church,
people. I had
right?
one of the most mind expanding conversations I ever had in my life was with this girl named Megan and this girl named Krista, and it never happened.
That's right. I remember you telling me about that.
I just laid on this bed. They did not even. I was actually so quiet on the bed. They had no idea I was in the room, right? And I
Uh-huh.
would like this went on for like 45 minutes or something, according to them. They were
And
more
I'm trying to
sober
remember the
than I was.
conversation now. Did you feel like it was a reflection of your own psyche projecting how the conversation would have gone, or what? What was your take on that?
I think all of us were talking in a different dimension.
Yeah,
Really,
totally. Yeah,
in a
100%.
certain way.
Makes sense to
I
me.
think it's kind of like parallel experience, but that one was much more rapid than this one, and different things were happening.
Yeah,
But
totally.
it was.
You know what you're talking about. I mean, a lot of those. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I think I really. So this is kind of in a certain way what really well did a lot. I wouldn't say it spawned my level of belief in like the idea of like a many worlds theory or parallel realities. Um, but it certainly did a lot to help it along. It was some good wind in the sails because this
Yeah.
situation was kind of like, okay, so what the fuck really happened, you know? And
Mm,
because functionally everything was so similar, right? It was just like
mm,
a different conversation with much more like rapidity to the
mm,
conversation. We were like really fucking da 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 about our ideas, right? And
mm.
then like and when I recognized this was not that same space anymore, it was very much so like, I mean, like all the music was turned off in the house. A bunch of like most of the people that were there that I thought were there were not there at this point in time. They had like gone to do some random shit. Krista and Megan were like the only people still at the house. The house was like whisper quiet. They were making no noise at all on the other side of the room. Like they got like legitimately startled when I said something out loud because they like
Right.
kind of didn't fucking know I was there. You know what I mean? And in the other space where I was like, like the house was it still had that energy of there's a lot of people here about it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
there was music and like shit was going on, and we were talking a bunch, and they were moving all about the room and all this stuff, and this is just not what was happening at all. But it seems so similar to what could have been happening that I was like, so what's going on here, right? Like, why am I seeing something like that? I
Yeah.
really got to circle the wagons on this one because there's just too much to really tell. But after a
Hmm.
long period of
Circle
having
wagons,
a
yeah.
whole bunch of lucid dream experiences that were very similar in their functionality to this, and I kind of just progressively came to further solidify the idea that really like all situations are happening, all possibilities are playing out, and we have like a very specific tuning that that brings us back to what we understand to be the same coherent experience every time. I don't think it's as coherent as we would like to believe it is, but I think our drive for security and belief in identity and basically the security that continuity provides to us in our belief that we are substantiated. I think that very much so drives us to believe like when I wake up in the morning a completely different person, I'm still the same person, you know.
Right.
But like I feel completely different. I had a realization from a dream while I was in my sleep. I'm like never going to do this again. It's a whole new day and I'm really turning over a new leaf. Like that can happen to you and you're really like that's like a fucking just like It's like you went to sleep in one reality. What if that reality died? What if everybody else in that reality was like, holy shit, guys, fucking Zach died in his sleep last night. But to me, I woke up just like normal and everybody else was still around. You know what I mean? I wouldn't
Yeah.
fucking know the difference. I would be like, cool, yeah, like Jen's still here, my fucking dogs are still here and shit. Nobody died during the night? No? Okay, cool. All right, nice. You know, we just keep going on with
Yeah.
my life, and I would choose to opt towards going like, yeah, there's a continuity there. I went to sleep in that bed, I woke up, I'm here now, it's the same life, right? I
Right.
can't fucking prove that. I can't prove that. The only way that I can prove that is by like what I record my body and then it's the same
Mhm.
body there on the same camera or whatever. Like if we really start
Right.
getting into parallels, realize there's like about 50 billion parallels out there that also set up that camera and also recorded the body and also did this, but their vector moving into the future is completely fucking different than the
Mhm.
other 49.9999999
Right. Right.
billion or whatever. I don't remember what number I said, right? Like all of the other possibilities that also started the camera all go different ways besides that. And maybe even just a minor little nudge, but like sometimes a minor little nudge sends something going in a drastically different direction. So, I don't
Yeah.
know.
100%.
I think a certain part of us wants to believe that this reality is really flimsy, and another part of us wants to believe that it's really, really stiff and really rigid. You know, it makes us feel like really secure in our life that there's
Right.
rigidity to this, that life is a thing and we're going through it, and there's like I'm gonna live again tomorrow, or I'm probably gonna live till I'm whatever the life expectancy is, or whatever you believe you're gonna live till, and all this
Yeah.
stuff. But like, I think there's just as much actually rationale in the idea that I'm always like one day old. I'm literally as old as the space between my sleeps. I take some kind of continuity with that, but if I'm gonna measure that age across those, I got to start measuring across what I would perceive as death a bunch of times, because functionally sleep ain't that different from death. Even like going back into a lot of mythologies, they call death like the long sleep or the great sleep
Yeah.
or the deep rest or all these various different things that you are resting in peace, right? Like they associate it with the sleep big time. That's why like
Yeah.
all these things. So nevertheless, like sleep and death, not that far apart. In fact, a whole lot of ideologies really consider them kind of the same thing. It's like sleep and big sleep. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's what they said in the ancient texts too. I mean, that was the terminology Jesus used, and the ancient, the older texts he used, and the and the good Christian churches, taught in the concept of it's a relationship, not a religion. So it allows you the religion is a framework for children. If you will, they even use this text within that. But then when you're older, you don't just drink milk; you actually eat the meat. You progress to things beyond, which to them is deeper layers of esoteric construct. I get that, but
Right.
if you take that the other way, like, oh, I'm supposed to get out of every construct, which is what I did until it's like, you know what I mean? So, but it was guided by that symbol set. It's a relationship with myself ultimately, and my relationship with Christ, my relationship with the Father, which is very intimate, and that was very respected in certain circles, and very honored. I mean, it shifted into it's all me. It's like everything became even more beautiful. It's great.
Yeah. The stories work well. You know what I mean? Like in a certain way. So like the story of Christianity and such is a perfect example because a lot of people think that it's like very boxed in or very controlled, right?
Mm.
And it's really is like such a prime example of that actually a religion is like what you get out of it, and what you get out of it is what you get out of it, right? Not like what
Mm.
somebody gives you out of it, but what you take the time to get out of it. Like there's a lot of good shit in there. Like a lot. Like
Right. Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
did all of it, you'd be doing really good. You know what I mean?
I was doing great, man, before my conversion, Yeah, man. Really. In
Yeah,
the
and to
right
realize
streams
that
too.
conversion was just a further progression. Would you have even gotten to
Yeah,
that
progression.
conversion if you only did half the shit? You know, probably not.
Yeah,
You probably would have been totally fine with that thing.
yeah.
But the point is that like you get out of it what you get out of it, not
Yeah, man,
necessarily
100%.
what's in there.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I like think for people for reading novels or certain movies. I found movies, fuck man, I have a list of movies that I watch many times and will watch again because of what it does inside of me and the layers I see, and not just like cognitive layers, emotional layers and connecting layers and beautiful layers, make you feel beautiful
Yeah.
things or sad things or whatever you want. But like it's a very Hollywood, especially like you were saying earlier, being able to filter out all the shit. I'm aware of it, whatever, and engage
Mhm.
the story or the narrative in a way that's separate of all the fucking other shit.
Yeah.
Because that's where your soul can connect. That's beautiful. Jesus, you goes fucking drag racing down here? Are you serious? They're trying to
I don't blame them.
go
That sounds
go
fun
away.
and novel.
No, except
Sounds
it's
fun.
like
We've never
tons of
had
cars.
drag race sounds on the podcast, Aaron.
Fair enough. Fair
It's the
enough.
first
Hey,
time.
fuck yeah. Let me roll down the window then. Hope they come
It's
by
too
again.
fast, too furious out there. You gotta look out. Be
No,
careful.
well, no. If it was cool, it's just kind of these kind of like cars that are just fucking revving. I was peeling out earlier. Just I don't know. It's a busy street. I don't know. Whatever. If they do it again, I'll roll down the window then.
It's interesting. Kevin said in chat, "Sleep is the cousin of death," and he quotes Nas, and Nas says right before that he never sleeps because sleep is the cousin of death,
Mm.
which I think is actually reference to a Kemetic proverb. I think I saw that somewhere sometime, but I don't remember now.
Mm.
This is such a weird space, the Kemetic proverb thing, because there's a bunch of shit that like newer rappers have said that got made to sound like an esoteric thing and then got labeled as a Kemetic proverb. It's kind of funny.
That is
I'm
funny.
not sure which direction it went, right? Because we don't
that's how it goes.
really, I mean, like so we got a guy who got some pretty compelling evidence that a Kemetic culture predated Pharaonic Egypt. Okay, pretty compelling evidence. But we don't know any more than we know exactly how Pharaonic Egypt went or
Right.
Gobekli Tepe, what was going on there, right? Like, we don't know. We know there was a culture that we don't fucking know what they were doing at Gobekli Tepe, for instance. Like, it doesn't make any
Right.
sense how they're doing a bunch of this stuff. We know that. We don't know why they were
Right.
doing it. We can make assertions, but we have no fucking clue, right? And it's kind of the same thing.
Right.
But then you like kind of wonder with like stuff like that, because the idea of Kemeticism, right? Like the idea that there is this highest conscious race was at one point in time located and functioning as the Ethiopian highlands, but really held dominion over pretty much the whole of Africa. And this is where, like, well, this is the idea of chem or chemetics. And many people say that that's where alchemy comes from. It's from that same place, right? Like, there's a lot of connections that are drawn with it. But many people have, especially those of the darker brown persuasion or claiming roots in Africa in some way, shape, or form, they have bought into this because it is like, an idea of escalating them, right? Because the Kemetic kings would have been like, very, very, very dark in color. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
like realize like I am very, very light in color. I personally believe that there was this Ethiopian highland culture that clearly was of extremely high consciousness and likely built all of the stuff that we associate to the Egyptians. So I buy it too. Like I get it.
Yeah.
It seems very
Yeah.
plausible. So nevertheless, like there's been a lot of like reverberation because there's a lot of that story isn't sculpted. You know what I mean? And so there
Yeah.
has been a lot of crossover, but there has been some proverbs that came forward that like I'm definitely still learning from all the time.
Mm. Yeah.
You say you're not blind, but can you see in the dark? I learn something new about that like every 3 months. I think about it every day, and I learn something new about it every 3 months.
Mm. Let's see. Don says, "I don't know exactly what reality is, but I do know what I vibe live and what the environment vibes me." Teehee.
That's what's most
That's just like
important right
hard.
there. Like, who actually, in a certain way,
Yeah.
who cares what reality is? Like, if you can establish what your reality is, like with you at the center of it, that's the most what reality is it's going to be, right? Like,
Especially
it
when it
might
ends
be a
with a TG.
meliocentric idea, but,
Really.
nothing
Yep.
wrong with having a meliocentric system. Realize like geocentric systems of astrology, heliocentric systems of astrology, these all work. They're just different ways of looking at things. You can also do it with you being the center of everything. An argument can be made that geocentric, or known as Western astrology or draconic astrology, is all like an actually like me-focused astrology. It puts you at the center of the entire zodiac, right? Like, or,
Yeah.
well, it's actually the Earth, but you're plotting your specific location and your specific entry time on the Earth, right? It's
Mm.
pointing at you. It's not pointing at the Earth. It's not geocentric, except for the fact that you're on the Earth. It's you-centric, right? That's the
Right.
whole idea of a natal chart. So that's not the way that the
Right. Yeah.
cosmos
Makes
looks to
sense.
the entire Earth. That's the way that the cosmos looks specifically to where you were. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with being meliocentric. There's a problem. There's nothing wrong with being self-centered per se. We've very much so dirtied up these terms, and in the way that we generally use these terms, there is definitely problematic things that surely everyone hearing this has noticed, going like, well, when you're too self-centered, you do this. But realize, like, if the entire focus is on self and one believes all is self, then they're always focused on themselves, and they're always interacting
Right.
with everything as being an extension of themselves. And all of those things that you're saying, like, oh, well, when you're self-centered, you do this. This thing doesn't do that. Right? It
Yeah.
focuses on itself in a different way. But if you were to kind of expand the concept of the Western astrology and not think of just your specific location, but the fact that there's a specific location for everything that has come into existence and functionally covers the entirety of the Earth, and the Earth, as far as a conscious layer of life on top of it, is actually a coexistence of all of these energies being here at the same time, despite coming from drastically different times and places, but we're all here coexisting doing the same thing, then perhaps you can see the actual level of cohesiveness that's going on what you call a planet, but is really just an ecosystem for a massive coagulation of consciousness of a higher density, coagulating with lower densities. It's a shaman, guys. That's the only thing that goes in between dimensions. That's the only things you ever really see. So it's functionally a shaman. It facilitates the process of life at a certain stage of itself, and we're a big coagulation on top of it. So it's, you know, that is the real self that we usually think about when we talk about like connected consciousness. A lot of
The
people think about
coagulation.
that on like an earth level, right? And they think like all humans thinking, you know, sharing thought, morphogenetic field kind of idea. Maybe expand that more to the universe or something. No, 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 no.
There you go. I didn't even have time to roll the window down. Happened right here, man. Okay.
It doesn't matter what frame that you really extend it to, because you can basically just extend its opposite. So if I'm saying that it's all about self, but then self is just me. Self is my local community. Self is the entire planet that I'm on, the whole universe, the whatever, every single parallel timeline that I can think of. All of this is just a further thing of like, you can still focus on all that stuff as long as you understand that it's yourself, right? And whether this is true, not true, doesn't really matter. Has a lot of function inside of it. It's all just stories, right? Like, even if it sounds super functional and devoid of story, it's just the story that's really devoid of story, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a
So
bad story in that case.
Don said I fall left and right of the path to find center very often. Thank you again, AA, Ron, and Zach. Great talk. Group frequency sharing. Group frequency sharing with a rev in the background.
It's funny because I've driven cars exactly like that on exactly that beach. And when you were there, I was like, I remembered a specific picture that I took of myself at that beach. I wasn't racing cars at that point in time, but I was there with this girl that I dated named Nancy, who was actually really wonderful. She helped me through my mom's death and shit. But right after my mom died, we ended up taking a trip up to Seattle. And one of the pictures that we took from that trip was on Alki Beach. And so
cool, man.
Connection.
Look, see, all synchronicity. Synchronicity. It's my favorite.
Yeah. So, nevertheless, I think I am going to hop off of here. Spend a couple of hours. It's been a nice conversation.
Cool.
I appreciate everybody being here tonight. If you have watched this far, please like, subscribe, follow our social media channels. Come be a part of the community. We are certainly embracing new members if you are embracing new experiences. And we do a lot of cool stuff. And we can keep you posted through all those places and not bore you here. So thank you, everybody, for being here tonight and taking part in the chat. Don, it's really cool to see you around here, and I'm glad that you're feeling good about the space around here. That's very much so what we're trying to create here. So, you know, thanks for coming. Please make sure to keep coming back. And everybody else that's already been doing that in the chat, Willow's now a moderator, or she's an administrator on, or an editor on YouTube. But I have to actually make her also like a moderator. She's going to moderate comments. We've never had a comment that needed moderated, except for the very first show that we did. The very first comment that we got was like, "Aaron, you've turned away from Jesus. You're fucking gonna die." Like, and I was like, "Whoa, holy shit!" Because this was like, I didn't even know Aaron at this point in time. It was like we started this, and one of the first things that we did together, the first comment that came in was like, "Aaron, you've turned from Jesus. You're going to hell." And I was like, "Whoa!" Just to moderate that, holy shit!
Oh, yeah.
And then
It's
Aaron
funny
knew
that you
those
actually,
people.
Yeah, I know. It's funny that you removed it because I remember noticing on the show and I just never thought about it again until now. Because I remember
Dude, I
thinking the show like,
removed it, and then and that ends up muting them for 15 minutes, and 15 minutes later, as soon as the mute came up, they said it again.
right, which is
They
actually
were,
great because like when the first one came out, I was like, oh, shit, like I don't care, man, leave that shit in. Doesn't I know it's like really
yeah,
intense with
I
the
was
first
just caught
episode, but
off
it is what
guard
it is.
by it.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I didn't even think in the moment. It's like it's fine, but they said it again, like it's fine. Like, it's what it is. It's cool. It's a great way to fucking start it off, man. Just the
Yeah.
last class.
I
With
mean,
that
I
I'm shooting
expected it.
film.
Like I've studied the live streaming space for a while. I'm actually just unbelievably shocked at the minimal amount of trolling that we've had in here. I know there's like random people who pop in that don't ever partake in chat, and I'm sure
Right.
some of them completely disagree with stuff that at least that I say. And I know that like other people have told me, like, I don't really pay attention to subscribers, followers, any of these kinds of numbers. I found it not very functional for trying to get shit done. But I've been told by other people that that they just happened to notice that we would like lose subscribers here and there, and that they kind of
Yeah.
wondered like, why would people even leave? But there is always a
Right.
reason. People always find
Yeah.
a reason. I'm surprised they
Yeah.
haven't chosen to actually speak up in chat with their reasons. I'm very surprised. So
Yeah.
anyways,
So let me go. Look, Sasha says, "Oh my God, thank you. I don't need moderating." Ha ha ha. It's true. Nope.
yeah,
We're all
I've
good,
never thought
man.
about moderating any of your comments at all. I've actually, like I said, past that one, I've literally never even had the concept cross my mind. So I don't know how much we need that. But
Will started. Oh wait, okay. Hold on. There's a bunch of kind of inside joke comments ish. It's funny. We start a conversation, but you're signing off, right?
yeah, I
Where
am
you're at?
signing off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just
All
stop
right.
reading the
I
comments.
love you guys. I'm gonna
Love
take
you,
off.
Zach.
I love you, Jesus Cristo del Espacio. I guess it's
Espacio.
Jesus. Jesus Cristo del
Jesus
Espacio.
Cristo. Yeah. See.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Peace out, my dudes and dudettes, or whatever
Yeah.
the feminine term is for that.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Love you, Zach. Yo. All right. So let me go through these comments. He's love you, Ryobi. Hold on. Where to start though? How did I miss it? Oh, there it is. Okay. So Will said protect Space Jesus. That's funny. Space Jesus. And then, wait, I thought if anybody would be me censoring you. That's funny too. I remember that comment. Let's see. Jesus Cristo del Espacio. Another one you can do. It looks like just you're translating not by direct of space, because if it's a literal translation, right? It's Espacio Jesus Cristo. There's like one word in the Google Translate, Jesus Cristo or something like. It's interesting. I saw one today. It's us. Jesuits. Us. Jesus us. Go to tape, bitches. No, Sasha, we love you too much to moderate you. Sasha's fucking true. Know your value. Take the comment. Know your worth. You go to tape, bitches. Bitch asses. Bitch ass. Bitch ass. Love heart. Let's see. Oops. Wrong button. Yodan say todos. Is that like Yoda say to everyone? Well done. Yay, thank you, Will Bark. Glad you got my back. Haha, love you all too. Yoda Tay. Very lightly. Just very light touch. Yoda Tay. Love you, Zach. Zach's out. Peace. After hours chat. Yes. So, Willow, would you be so kind as to facilitate for anyone involved in the chat right now that we'll send invites to them for the Facebook room thing? Let's do that. All right, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, let's do that shit. So let's go that direction, and I'll just end it here. And I may see if I can't light a fire, and that will be on the after hours chat. That's cool. Fuck. All right. See you guys later. Have a wonderful night. Also, it hasn't been, I don't think we specifically mentioned it in the episode 2, and it was on my mind today again. We do have below links in the comments, as Zach mentioned, one of them specifically. There's more revving clips. There's just a big truck, actually. A big loud truck. But for the Shipbo people, one of the last native indigenous tribes of South America that Zach and Jen know and have spent time in our family to them, a lot of time down there with them. $4.50 feeds a family for a month. $4.50 is the whole village for a month. And so we have a Patreon that I'm personally subscribed to, and so are several other people, which has been beautiful to see. And then there's a GoFundMe, which people have also been donating to. So thank you guys very, very much. So whatever amount, one time, anytime, whatever you can give is a beautiful thing. And we love to be a channel for that. It goes straight to them 100%. Last time we had pictures of them, of the food they bought. They sent, we didn't request it, but they sent pictures of all the receipts for all the money that was spent, showed the food and the tribe. And because they know them, and just to see them is beautiful. So yeah, on with there. After hours party. And let's see, let's see. Expanded Understanding After Dark. Dude, it reminds me of, what was the Nickelodeon show? After Dark or something? Oh, Expanded Understanding. Oh, that makes me feel like I'm twisting into my childhood in a cool fucking way. Yeah. All right, maybe I should write, geez, it's us. Let's see. Don's Facebook. Going through this. Oh, good name, Willow. Dio de Mario is a sweet man. Oh, right. Yeah, from the tribe. Yeah. Yeah, he is. Yeah. Had a very brief combo with him. Oh, you did? Beautiful. He's so kind. Nice. She doesn't have a Facebook. There's a YouTube channel. Thank you for asking, dear one, Will Beavers. I wonder. It's not really a way to do it without, excuse me, creating a new video. And we could bring people on too. I'm trying to think. I don't know how to work. Okay, Will, if you can create a chat for everyone in the chat right now, Facebook chat. Yeah, let's do that. And then I'm going to throw out an idea and we'll see if it works. So let's do that. I'm going to say goodnight to everyone. Love you all very, very much. Mwah. Have a good night. Take care. And bye.